Absolutely wonderful. Let me get the lighting sorted. I don't know if any of you saw my. There we go. I made a video. Welcome everyone. Nice to see 54 people in already. Dan really pulls the numbers. If you're new here and you're like, why ain't he wearing any clothes? Well, it's currently 11 o'clock at night and it's 31 degrees. When I'm talking and when I've got a light on me, that's why. That's the answer. So if you don't like it, sorry. Dan, the Iconoclast, will be in soon. So will my co-host. I'll no doubt he'll be racking up at some point, rocking up no less. And we've got an important topic to talk about. I mean, I don't want to say too much before Dan gets here, but for about 10 years now, things have happened in the UK that have made me say, wow, look at people waking up. And then the next bit will be, they've woken up, so now we need action. And then, 6 months to a year later, fizzled out, whatever it was, abstract kind of assumption of a change in kind of, the Overton window, essentially. And then a couple of years later, wow, this is big. Take for example, and we're on YouTube, but take, for example, something that will be seen as one of, if not the biggest scandal in UK history, in English history, that happened in, what has been recorded as happening in a handful of northern towns, but is assumed probably to be going on a lot wider than that, and that was like, well, if this doesn't kick people into action, I'm not sure what will. And you see some changes. The Overton window moves. You see the political movements in France, which they then managed to oust. You see political movements in Italy, which they then, she's kind of turned her back on it. Thanks for your populist vote. The whole Macron, not Macron. What's her name? You see Trump, not our man, but certainly a step closer. And then again, it fizzles out. And then next year, there's something. They're really waking up now. And, this is the start of it. The English will only take so much. And then you look at the economic situation at the moment. I'm not a great economist, but I think they borrowed something like 105 billion, I think between 23 and 24, something like that. And the interest they're paying off on these massive loans. I mean, the fiscal. There's a thing in accounting called GAAP. It's a bit like Sadiq Khan's mate. It's generally accepted accounting principles or something, but there's a lot of things you can do with liabilities to sort of, especially when you're government, and government is just a gang. The history of humanity is a history of gangs, is a history of people who've collectivized to help the collective. And that includes the aristocracy, that includes the government, that includes a subset of the government we call law enforcement, that includes the judiciary. These are just gangs. They're just groups of people who have got themselves into a certain area of society and somehow got it written into, we'll call it a constitution, although it isn't, it's just laws that allow them to look after the resources they've managed to scratch together and continue to pass down to people in their gang, their family, their kin. And the working classes of the UK are a gang that it's almost illegal for that gang to collectivise, and it's made harder and harder on a daily basis for the biggest gang in the country to even communicate, to even talk about ideas. and their children are being educated at such a low level. So that particular gang is getting stupider. And again, we're looking at what's going on, and there's a lot going on. We had so many protests in so many cities over the last couple of weeks. And it's again, everyone's waking up. Here it goes. And I'm hearing everyone say it. It really feels like, the fuse has been lit. And is this just going to be another damp squib? Is this just going to be another well, we give it a go, but, got to take the kids swimming at the weekend. And I don't mean that as a pejorative. If you've got kids, you've got to keep them entertained, or they go nuts. Okay, I'll just get the grift out of the way. I do appreciate support. My business is going down the pan because of the way Starmer's government is taxing entrepreneurs out of business. Literally, they don't want us. They're of no use to them. They want the corporations. They want the mega markets. When Sainsbury's moved into your little town and put all the independents out of business. Well, that's what the government essentially wants to do, because they're in bed with the corporations. They're not in bed with individual entrepreneurs. So I do appreciate that. You've got at the top of the YouTube chat, you can use Entropy, or you can use Buy Me a Coffee. You can also use that QR code to buy me a coffee. Just put your phone over it on camera and it will give you a link. We've got good old super chats at the bottom of the UK chat. If you use Buy Me a Coffee and they take the least cut, you do get a personalised, bespoke 30-second video from me. I'll make them after the chat, and you'll get your moment of glory on the screen. Same with Entropy. So with that all out of the way, if I click my fingers, let's let the magic happen. Danny boy.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Well, is it evening now, or are you late afternoon?
It's 5:10.
You know when they say there's no such thing as English culture?
Right.
I've been having this debate since I was about 10. So there's an example of English culture. What is evening? Is 10 past 5?
Yeah, I'd say 5 o'clock onwards is evening, because that's when, if you have a 9 to 5 job, you leave work at 5. That's the evening. I think
Let me know in the chat, people. Let me know in the chat when does evening start? Because I'd say evening starts at 7. I mean, it's 11. It's 11 past 11 here, so it is my evening. So you're right. You can't just say no, Dan.
Well, I can if I disagree, which I do. So I will say no.
Yeah, but you almost just went no.
Dismissive.
Yeah. Daniel, have you got an alcoholic beverage tonight? Are you having a?
Not yet. Maybe later. I've got a Red Bull, if that counts. It doesn't count, obviously. It's not an alcoholic beverage. But when Red Bulls were first popular when I was a kid, there was a rumor in the schoolyard that they had 1% alcohol in. That was what people were saying.
You're so much younger than me. The idea of having Red Bull in the playground. Do you know what we were drinking in the playground?
I don't want to know. Petrol. Fuck knows.
Half a pint of mild. No, we would. The big one. There was 2 big ones. There was Tab. Let me know in the chat if you remember Tab. And the other one was 1 Cal. Now, the rich kids, by which I mean who could afford to eat every day, would occasionally have a Capri Sun, or if it was a school visit, they would have an umbungo. And
right.
I would imagine everyone in the chat over 45 is now at home going, umbungo, they drink it in the Congo, the monkey and the mamba said the mama and the kango. Yeah. And they all, they call umbungo. An advert
that sounds like the most racist song ever, by the way.
Oh, well,
That's
I think
crazy.
I think to start the stream on something a little bit lighthearted, let's play it.
Let's go. Bongo, was it? What was it?
No, it's not quite that bad, but it's not quite that good.
Right.
It's umbongo, and here we go, people. 31 seconds long, but it worked. It was a campaign that really worked. It went from a no one had ever heard of this sort of tropical fruit flavored 90% sugar, 9% chemicals, 1% water, refreshing
Yeah.
sort of chemical stew. And then this advert was played everywhere. Kids were singing it at school. And as soon as kids are singing an advert, you've won the marketing prize, without a doubt. Here we go. Let's have a little look. And a little, well, more of a listen. But the advert also contains probably the kind of thing you'd also consider these days to be, well, certainly, I'm sure there's plenty of people. IR says Umbongo is 50% sugar, 50% cobalt. That's a good call. Here we go. I think some of the imagery would offend a lot of people these days. So let's roll VT. I think I've got the audio on.
Way down deep in the middle of the Congo, a hippo took an every caught a rover and a mango. He stuck it with the others and he danced a dinky tango. The rhino said, I know, we'll call it Umbango. Umbango, the drink it in the Congo. Python picked the passion from the mama, said the mandarin, the parrot painted bunnies got the bunker voodoo landed it. So when it comes to sun and fun and goodness in the jungle, they'll all prefer the sunny, funny one they call Umbango. Libby's Umbango.
There you go. They drink it in the Congo. Is amazing.
They wish they drank it in the Congo. What are they actually drinking in the Congo?
Did you see a while back, Dan, these shorts going around of so-called African tribes given a bottle of cola? And
No, I didn't see that.
I've got to show you. Let me know in the chat if you saw them. They went viral, so you're obviously doing something productive like working rather than
Don't be so sure.
sitting watching YouTube all day.
Wait, they gave tribes people Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but you will not believe it's they're short, so they're going to be a bit short, but a bit hard to see. But there's so many of them. I don't know whether I'll get the real juice in this one I've selected. But there's a few people reckon they're just set up. But regardless, they're very amusing. I can see you, mate. I'll sort that out in a minute. Here we go. I can just make it a bit bigger by getting rid of us for a minute.
Going to try Coca-Cola for the first time. While Coca-Cola is a global phenomenon, it's completely unfamiliar to this community. They don't even know how to open the bottle. They actually just twist the bottle open. What do you think has kept them from trying Coke until now? This African tribe...
There's plenty more. Yeah, we've got Fanta here. Same attack. You try it, Grandad. I've got strong teeth. I've had no calcium since 1972. I mean, when do you think this was filmed? Like 1300s or something?
They took this bottle of Coca-Cola to a remote tribe in Africa who had never seen it before. Not knowing how to open this fizzy drink, the tribals started biting the bottle from different parts with their iron teeth, trying to rip it open. But when they somewhat managed to succeed, the fizziness explosion left them utterly amazed.
Yeah, it's much the same down in Hackney, and there goes the channel. Right. Now, I would like to, if you're not familiar with this channel, I do have a co-host. He doesn't say anything, though, so it doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, please show some love in the chat. Packer. Hello, brother. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Packer.
There you go.
How are you?
He's still eating. That's why Packer doesn't eat anything but meat. He's a carnivore. That's it, isn't it? Carnivore.
Based.
Meat and animal products.
Oh, look at that.
So, but he does a great job of keeping an eye on the chat, and
I'll try.
He's all around good stuff, and he reminds me when I've missed super chats and other donations. I've got the entropy and the buy me a coffee open, so I'll see those if they come through, and if I miss them, tell Packer.
Packer.
So what? let's. Can
I ask Packer something? Is that a lava? Is that a lava lamp on the back of that cabinet on the top?
No.
What is it? It looks like a lava
lamp. It's similar. It's like they used to do with glittering.
Oh right, it's a fake one. Okay.
Yeah, so I've got a lava lamp upstairs, but.
Oh, good. At least you've got one. We need to bring them back.
Yeah, obviously.
Anyway, continue, Chris. I just want to know that.
You're all right. James from Philadelphia, also known as Jimmy from Philly, who's in the chat, he's donated on Buy Me a Coffee. Much appreciated, James. I will pop that up on the screen a little bit later. But first of all, we are going to see, I'm going to show you a video. It's quite a long video. It's about 4 minutes. It's I put the screen up thinking it was it, and it was those Africans with a Coke, and I thought it didn't look like that last time I watched it. It's Connor Tomlinson, who made his name on the Lotus Eaters. I'm not sure if he's still on the Lotus Eaters, but he's gone solo and he's doing the rounds, and he's absolutely smashing it. Now, he went on Tim Paul, and that, you know, regardless of what you think of Tim Paul, I think it's a bit of a, well, it doesn't really matter.
It's a big club.
He went on there and he hang on a minute, darling, I've got to shut the doors. Thank you, love. He went on Tim Paul, and at the beginning of the talk, he essentially gave like a 4 or 5 minute monologue, and that was what motivated me to make this video, to talk to Dan about what he said. So we'll watch that monologue. Dan and Packer, if you want to interrupt this monologue, just say pause it, and I'll pause it, and we can always go back a little bit. So Connor Tomlinson's his name. I'll put a link to his channel in the chat in a minute. But so this is just to sort of set the scene and set where we are and the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. And I think this new breed of nationalists, like Connor Tomlinson, they are a step up. They know their economics, they know their history, they know their culture. For me, that's always been missing in nationalist circles: the power of culture, the power of media. I mean, people know about propaganda and they know about indoctrination, but you know, the simple mechanics of culture, the everyday mechanics of culture that keep us in our place, is often missed. So here we go. Let's check out Connor Tomlinson. And if you don't have to interrupt it if you don't want to. If we can just listen to the whole thing through and then get going. So here we go. Connor Tomlinson on Tim Paul. There'll be a little bit of back and forth, but then Connor will do this sort of whole speech, and it wasn't planned or prepared, but it's thorough. So here we go.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, our army is the lowest number since the Napoleonic Wars. I think we only have a couple of thousand active troops.
Trump, if you're listening, this is going to be easy.
Are we a couple of thousand active troops? We've got less military than we did during the Napoleonic Wars. Right.
Ready for an entirely Muslim state in our country yet? I don't know.
The first Sharia state in
England, or I think it's sort of shifting politically.
Shifting in what sense? So in 2024 we had the last election. Labour got in on what Rupert Lowe calls a landslip. So they got a landslide majority, but with fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn lost by in 2019. They are the most unpopular government on record. They're brand new low. It turns out the space beneath the bottom of the barrel, and that's where Keir Starmer's sitting right now. The reason he's probably doing this, by the way, so there's a parliamentary recess in the middle of September. That's when he's inviting Trump. It's because he and all of his members of his cabinet have slated Trump relentlessly. So David Lammy, who is the thickest man in Britain, who's our foreign secretary, once wrote an article in Time magazine when Trump was first president, calling him a member of the KKK, a neo-Nazi, a misogynist, and now you're expecting him to meet with the Trump administration, have a cordial conversation, and they're worried that half of the Labour government is going to walk out in protest if Trump does address Parliament. So that's why they're not having it. So Labour are in power. They're currently kowtowing to the Muslim lobby because they've traditionally relied on the Muslim vote, and about 5 of their cabinet members, three to 5, are probably going to lose their seat in the next election because they only won by a couple of hundred votes because Muslim independent candidates ran on a purely pro-Palestine ticket in that area and almost won. There were 4 Muslim pro-Palestine MPs elected at the last election. The former leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, is about to start a new party with them and take Labour MPs along with them. So they're hemorrhaging votes to their left. As far as the right in Britain, as far as it exists, the last Conservative government just delivered net 1 million immigration every year. You guys have that for the whole of your country. We're the size of New York State, so we have the same level of legal migration as you guys did under a Conservative government.
Under a Conservative government, the UK had the same amount of legal migration as the 300 million population of America. We're the size of New York State. Okay.
They got thrown out with their worst record in 100 years, and they've instead appointed Kemi Badenoch to lead their party rather than Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick resigned from the previous government over their immigration record, so he's quite principled. Kemi Badenoch is, well, she was born from Nigerian parents using health tourism, which is how she got her citizenship, lived in Nigeria, then America, identifies as a first-generation immigrant, has basically been propped up by the party for her entire career, and in her maiden speech, she wanted to remove the caps on student and working migration. She also identifies not as British, but as Yoruba, and calls other Nigerians her ethnic enemies. Brilliant patriotic leadership. Then you have Reform. Reform are topping the polls. That's Nigel Farage's party. Nigel Farage, about 2 days ago, gave an interview saying, I am to the left of the country on immigration. Nigel Farage. Yeah, I know. What? Most Americans don't know this. Nigel Farage has spent the last year betraying his base, entirely betraying them. He has said mass deportations are an impossibility. We're not going to do them, even after Trump won on them. Wow. He turned around and said there are clips of this you'll be able to get. You had Winston Marshall on a few weeks ago. On Winston Marshall's podcast, he said, if politically we alienate Islam, by 2050 we will lose.
I saw that, yeah.
Like, sorry, Nigel, what parts of Islamic theology do you want to incorporate into your party platform? What is winning? Now, it turns out that his company is his party is a company. He's got 2 directors. One is Nigel Farage. One is his former party chairman called Zia Yusuf. Zia Yusuf gave probably about £200,000 in political donations when the party was about to win the election. He's been Nigel's vizier ever since. He's kind of like Jafar from Aladdin. He left the party. He insulted the party. 2 days later, he was brought back in as the head of UK Doge, and he is now personally appointing loads of Muslim candidates to this party, which is topping the polls because it's meant to be the anti-immigration party. So we genuinely have nobody to vote for. The only thing that we have a bit of hope on the horizon, Reform kicked out 2 of its MPs fairly recently. One over some anodyne business thing. The other was Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe was elected last year. He's basically our Trump. This is my thesis. Spotless record, independently wealthy, donates his salary to charity every month, and has just been dubbed by a communist organization called Hope Not Hate the most extreme right-wing MP in Parliament. Bloody hell is he. He's now an independent MP, and he's launched his own movement to try and propose policies. The problem is he's got no party. So he's got absolutely no likelihood at the moment of being the next prime minister. So we're not even where you guys were in 2015. We are like at least 10 to 15 years behind the discourse, and we don't have 10 to 15 years to fix this.
What's going on with speech? Free speech.
12,000 people a year are arrested.
Because that's your antidote.
I'm going to stop it there because there's a couple of things at the end there. So apart from the 12,000 people in the UK imprisoned every year for free speech, I think it's interesting that he says we're 10 to 15 years behind America, and I'd kind of agree with that. And we don't have that time to get it sorted, which is why I stopped that civil war on the
when he says we're 10 or 15 years behind America, in which metric do you think he means?
Well, I think he means in terms of the Overton window. I think like Trump is now, as I said, if you're an illegal immigrant, we're chucking you out. If you're an illegal immigrant who's broken the law, you're at the top of the list. Once they've got through them, you've broken the law. Whereas in the UK, they're being moved to 4-star hotels under the cover of night and costing the taxpayer an absolute fortune. And, when I tell people out here that, they just, we've been so used to this that we laugh at it. And I know we're not laughing because it's a joke, but it's so pathetic. But people out here, they say, why would your government do that? And I say, well, because They don't serve us. They're our enemy. They hate us. Because I can't think of any other reason.
No, me neither at this point. But I think I don't want to do comparisons between Britain and America too much, but I do think both have their pros and cons. I think I would actually disagree with that a little bit, what you've just said, because I think in America is very different to here, and certainly politically they're very different. I mean, a man like Trump would never be able to rise in this country and become the leader of this country. It's just not the way it would work. We don't.
Why?
Because his personality, for example, is not something that most British people would appreciate, and I think there's a level of celebrity worship. That's maybe the wrong word, worship, but a level of celebrity in America that is treated differently than celebrity over here. Over here, we don't tend to like that when people who are famous get involved in that type of thing. We kind of want things to be done a bit more properly, and I know that's a meaningless term with the way things are going, but that's the mindset of a lot of people over here.
Isn't Farage a little bit of a sort of a celebrity that's become politician?
I think he is a bit of an outlier because he's been a politician for over 30 years. The fact that he's got a level of charisma that allows him to be shared and go viral on social media, I think is a little bit different to Trump, who was always a public figure in America, had TV shows, and was always this celebrity getting into politics at the late stage of his life. Farage is a little bit different. He's been in politics for nearly 40 years, or even a bit longer than that. It's a little bit different. And by the way, Farage, he seems to be doing his best to fuck it up, but he's in the hot seat to kind of take over in whenever the next election.
It looks like Reform are going to win. I think that's
despite their best efforts, apparently. I just don't. It's crazy. We'll get into that later. But my overall point is, I think you can look at America and Britain, and I think the demographic situation in America is actually worse than ours. And I know that's on the surface might be a bit of a mad thing to say, but their cities are gone completely, and ours. We're not in a good position at all. But I think over here we are in a better position to have identitarian politics to be front and center more than America is, because in America, all their politicians are very much in that, no, we have to adhere to American values, and it's the Constitution, and it's this and it's that. Whereas over here, our very existence is about to be wiped off the face of the planet. And that is going to come to the forefront quicker than most people might think. So I think from that perspective, in terms of the discourse, we might be a little bit further ahead than America. Disregarding what Trump might be doing with illegal immigration, I don't think that really...
They're saying now, I mean, and, you know, I'm talking about on mainstream media, that whites will be a minority in America by about 2045. It's very quickly, shocking numbers and shocking speed. I mean, we used to say that 7 years ago, that Oxford professor of statistics said probably 2064 or something. It would be
66, I think. Yeah, round about then. If things stay the same, but current trends might increase and they might get more, you know. So it's all an estimation at this point, but I think it'll be sooner than that, really.
Dan, are you an ethno-nationalist?
I would say so, yes. Yeah.
You see, I live in essentially an ethno-state. It's 98% native Khmer people. There's still 2% of rest of the world. But it's pretty much as good as you're going to get, really. And it functions. It's got its problems because organizing humans and organizing economies isn't easy. But politically, I don't see it as a. I think we're going to need a few more steps to ever achieve something like that again in England. We talked about it before, and just the idea of decoupling a very wealthy and nuclear military from the global economy. That I just can't see that happening. Heathrow is like one of the busiest airports in the world for a reason. We're a very important cog in the global sort of trade game.
We talked about this the other year with Hugh when he jumped on the stream, and he said the same thing that you're essentially saying now. There will be a certain level of force required in order to reverse things. But I would say that if you do believe in the political system, which I know it's difficult to do that, some people say there is no political will, there is no political solution to do that. And that very much depends on the people who were in charge at the time. So, for example, if let's say Reform get in, right? And I know Farage has said all these things like, well, we can't deport all these people because it's just not viable, or whatever he said, whatever the quote was. And I'm thinking, well, that's very much him deciding that it's not viable. It is possible. I mean, people forget this. 5 years ago, the government they put out an incredible amount of governmental power to fundamentally change society in real time. They closed the borders 5 years ago. Did people forget about this? They stopped you leaving your house for a year or two. They use an incredible amount of power to fundamentally change society.
But did they use an incredible amount of power, or did they just tell you on telly and everyone done it?
There is an element of that, of course. But
that would be my point. That's what I opened up with, this idea that, this is going to wake everyone up. And even something, the grooming scandal, which is just going to be one of history's most, well, you know what I mean. And then the COVID blag, and still nothing. So
do you not think the mood of the population has? I mean, when we were streaming regularly about 6-7 years ago with Hugh, 2018, I think we were very niche in what we were saying back then. Now, I don't think that's the case. I think the public, by and large, the mood of the country is very much there. And patience is wearing thin. There isn't a lot of time left, and I think there is a sense of that. I think the wind is blowing in only one direction, quite frankly.
I think,
and really I feel the acceleration as it goes on. Every single day feels like an acceleration.
I think really that's my point, because I've said that regularly for like the last 10 years. It's all moving. This is it. It's happening. And then I've been very disappointed, and it's just, and then the grooming gang thing, what, the old bill were involved, social services covered it up, the government were involved, this is it. Nothing. The coof, couple of people on Good Morning Britain saying that a wet market in China, so you can't go to your grandmother's funeral or get married standing unless you're 5 meters away from the bride, and people just done it. People walking around in bubbles.
I went to a funeral during COVID. It was we didn't follow the rules, but we were. There was a lot of pressure to do so from the people working at the crematorium, because they were fully on board with it all. It was a very strange experience.
But Dan, alongside what you were just saying, so let's assume, because again, I don't want to be fooled again. I do see things happening. There was another video where a bloke, he went to nearly every protest, and there were loads. And unless you watch these YouTubers who are actually going to all these, there's nothing in the mainstream media about them. Huge protests, like with just Union flags and St. George's flags, and people, the chants would kick them out. And this went on in like sort of 20 or 30 cities over the country over one weekend or 1 week. I can't say for sure. But it just, have we been here before? And alongside that, sorry, as I started, as what I said at the beginning of that rant, beside that, 12,000 people have been put in prison for things they've said
on social media. I think so.
Yeah, and they're letting people out. They're letting people out of prison on tags for murder, rape, violent crimes, because there's no space. They've got no space left in prisons to lock people up for speech and thought crimes. So they're letting dangerous people out on tags. They're not prosecuting people for dangerous crimes. They're doing unconditional, what's it called? I've had enough myself. Unconditional discharge. An unconditional discharge is where they say, you are guilty of the crime you are in this court for, but we're not going to punish you. But if you do anything else naughty within the time of the unconditional discharge, which is usually a year, sometimes 2, we will then do you for the new crime and this one. So they're admitting that you've broken the law, but we ain't got the time and the resources. But if you do something again, it's like talking to a child, really. You drunk all the orange juice. If you do that again, you're not going to drink any orange juice for years. And so they're letting loads of people out of prison. They're not putting people in prison, but they're making sure they've got space for thought crimers. So, they are on it. I think they're on it. They're shutting people up. They're making examples of people at these events as well. They're dragging people off and chucking them in prison. And so I suppose my question to you is, as Connor said, we've got no one to vote for. I mean, are you going to vote?
I didn't vote last year, so it would depend what happens between now and the next election. So I can't say yes or no. If you want my general opinion on the political system, I don't think there is a political solution. I think we are. It's funny because when we used to stream with Hugh, every single episode he would come on and say, Dan, when do you think the collapse is coming? When's the civil war coming, Dan? Every single time. And I do think there is an element of collapse on the horizon. I think it's unavoidable because here's the situation. Unless millions of people are deported from the country, there will be a collapse. There is no alternative. That's going to happen. A balkanization, perhaps, of the country that you would see, ethnic conflicts between certain areas.
There's huge economic problems as well. Absolutely huge.
The economy is in the fucking toilet. It's not going to last much. It's on strings at this point. It is really that bad.
I think people who are counting on a pension are going to be counting on about 1/10 of what they were told and what they've paid in.
You're going to have a surprise. Yes, it's not going to.
Yeah,
it's not going to be.
And those index-based pensions, they were all designed when people were dying sort of 5 years after they retired, but now people are living to like 80, 85. And I just don't think they're going to have the money for it. If you look at the whole economic situation at the moment, it's very much like, when was it? I was only 3 or 4, but so I'm not talking from experience. Well, maybe I am, but I think it was 1976 when the UK economy just died. And where did we go then? What would it be? The IMF. We had to go to the IMF and say, we're fucked. Can you give us some money? And it looks like we're in a very similar position to that now. But you can add to that a colossal amount of people coming into the country, being a net drain on those resources that are already looking like they're liable to fail. If someone can correct me in the chat, if it wasn't 1976, I apologize. Just a couple of super chats. 42 says, you now need to fill in a customs form to send a parcel from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, which is the same kingdom. So that's weird. The UK is being broken up. MC, thank you, 42, for that comment and the donation. Another Lady Godiva from MCJ Dub Power. This is an old classic, so I do love it. I really enjoy these streams, apart from the content format, delivery, overall surprisingly mediocre content. Where would we be without you? Thank you, MCJD. Prasha Kuki. So so I mean, Hugh's old joke was, what was it? What did he used to say? Warm up the choppers. You do a better impression of him than me. I can't manage to pull off that well-off posh person, but thankfully, but I not having grown up around him. So you think that? I mean, are you looking because like Humorous, the Norwegian, or is he Finnish? I think he's Norwegian. The Norwegian nationalist Humorous, I interviewed him on this channel. That's what he says. He says it gets to a point where the English will be like trapped rats, and an animal is at its most dangerous when it's trapped in a corner, and that's where we'll be. And then that's when it will kick off, and it's inevitable. That's Kai Morris's approach, outlook. I don't want to. Sorry, Kai, if I've got that wrong, but it's just going that way. There's an inevitability about it when the working classes, which make up the majority, we still are the majority. The white native working classes are the majority. Feel there's no political solution. The economy is about to absolutely shaft them. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and the last 5 years, I've just seen how me and all the people at sort of my level are just being shafted. They're just cutting us out of the picture. So you've got the economic problem as well. You've got the migration problem as well. You've got the Overton window moving, and you've got the eye test. The simple eye test that London is.
It's a good point. The eye test, yeah.
It just doesn't look like London. Birmingham doesn't look like Birmingham. These places would look more at home in Mogadishu. So you think that it's going to break down, and then there's going to be organisation, like paramilitaries.
Well, don't forget that when I say the country's going to balkanize, I mean all these immigrant communities have ethnic conflicts with other immigrant communities as well. It's not just all of them as a block against us. It is going to be fucking chaos in a lot of these cities and a lot of these neighborhoods. So I'm talking about a complete collapse. Because if you look at the country now, and you look at the state of the institutions, for example, which were once held up as being, okay, if we have strong institutions in Britain, then Britain's in a good place. Look at them all. Look at the monarchy. Look at the state of Charles and the things he says. And nobody respects the monarchy. Nobody gives a shit about the monarchy. If there was a French Revolution style thing tomorrow, nobody would bat an eyelid. People would be like, yeah, get him out. He's useless. We need a restart on that. Look at Parliament.
You think Charles would be guillotined in Trafalgar Square?
Well, the modern equivalent of it, maybe. Yeah.
No, the guillotine is
the guillotine. The guillotine. But the point is, nobody respects the monarchy anymore. When the Queen died, that was it. Look at Parliament, the most detestable group of people that have ever existed in this country, arguably. Nobody respects them. Look at the justice system, law and order. In the toilet, 2-tier isn't just a meme; it's real. People feel.
No, yeah, without a doubt, UK English natives are. I used to say second-class citizens in their own homeland, but I'd actually say third. You've got the political and corporate class at the top of the ladder. Yes. Then you've got our guests, and then it's the hard-working, tax-paying natives at the bottom.
Yeah, and then you look at other. I mean, we could go on and on, but an institution like the BBC, which you can laugh at the BBC, but the BBC used to be respected. People used to say, yes, this is an integral part of our culture and our society. The BBC. Nobody thinks that now. I mean, who's paying their TV license now, apart from octogenarians? Who's doing that?
They'll still get our money just through
by other means, yes.
Yeah,
of course.
They'll just, that's what government that's meant to serve the people. Largely, when you look into it, they function as a very slick machine that takes public money and puts it into private pockets very efficiently. It's quite the coup, and again, because they're just a gang, and why wouldn't they do that? They're just a group of people looking out for each other's interests. They call themselves the government, but they're not looking after us.
There was some story a while ago recently where there was an idea floated around where, because record numbers of people are not paying their TV license, they were saying that they would just incorporate it onto the price of a Netflix subscription or something, and they would just get it through stealth pay like that, you know. And it's just, but people see this and they think, oh, fuck you, you know, you people are just, you're taking the piss now. And generally speaking, when you have a country where the institutions aren't respected and they're collapsing in real time, and then you have the cost of living going up while the standard of living goes down, while there's crime in the streets, random crime that isn't even punished, not even dealt with. The other day, I was in my town, I went to a shop, and just some people walked in and cleared the shelves out and left, and nobody did anything. And I said to the cashier, I said, does this happen often? Like, yeah, they're regulars. They do it all the time. Nothing ever happens to them. The police know who they are. So
I remember...
What's going on here? Where like there is no solution to this unless things change radically like that. And you know, you can call me a pessimist if you want, but politically, I don't see the will from anyone in order to handle this. And there's nothing going on there. So collapse is inevitable.
If there's collapse where the nation just sort of descends into almost like, say, a balkanized feudal, tribal sort of border clashing kind of third world country, and then there's the other one which is an actual civil war. Now, when I don't like to hark back to when we were talking about this before, but occasionally it makes sense to. There are a lot of people in the chat saying, I want that war to happen. Mm-hmm. But I think people forget it won't be a couple of weeks. It'll be a couple of decades at least. It could be 50 years. It's not just going to, you know, there's a certain demographic have been moving fighting age men into our country for the last 20 years. Now, you could say that's just a coincidence. You could suggest they're building up for something. But I don't think that it would be something that it would, you know, there'll be a few riots and you would need to organize. You would need to have someone who is going to take the place of government, create a military that can maintain any power that's gained and control the opposition. And I just think that these things take ages. I mean, look at the Northern Ireland situation. Look at all of it. Look at Vietnam. America, the world's strongest military, went into Vietnam with all their weapons and all their sort of training and all their special ops, and they were beaten by an army of women and children. Not only women and children, but a fair, you know, sharpening bamboo. And it went on for years and years, and loads of Americans died, loads of Thais died. I got a friend, she's a woman, and the Americans turned up to her village in Thailand because the Americans quickly realized, this will make sense when I get back to it, the Americans quickly realized they didn't understand jungle warfare. So they went to Thailand and said, look, if you come and fight for the Americans in Vietnam and help us with, you know, the goings on of jungle and guerrilla warfare, you'll have an American military pension for the rest of your life. And all 52 blokes from the village, all the men went, and 2 came back. Mm. And so it's not just American troops that died in Vietnam. They picked loads from places like Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and all that, and they got their asses whipped. America lost the Vietnam War, and so people are sort of gunning for this, excuse the pun, sort of moment of conflict where we all stand up and say no more. But how do you actually foresee that happening? Is it taking to the streets with like sledgehammer handles? Is it going to Parliament and charging it? What do you actually see once you? Because what politics is Politics is the bit in between talking and fighting. It's the bit where you say, well, look, let's sort this out in another way. And once you've taken that off the table, you're fighting. So describe. I mean, I don't expect you to have thought this through and planned it out, but how would you actually see that happening? Or maybe a better way of posing the question is, what would be your ideal actual ground mechanics of something like that happening?
Well, it's hard to say what I'd find the most ideal, because none of this is really an ideal situation. But you and I have talked before a lot about, let's just talk about migration and people claiming from the system. If that economic system doesn't exist, then there's no incentive for these people to be here.
Yeah, because I think welfare has been one of the biggest damages to the world. It's interesting, going back to what I said, that Cambodia is an ethno-state, essentially. It has no welfare. Hasn't that? Those two things aren't separate.
And you see this in Eastern European countries, for example, where they don't have a massive welfare system like we do. I mean, they're not completely homogenous, but they're 90-something%. Even though lots of their people leave to go to the West to work, those countries are still very much ethnically as they are, because people don't want to go there. There's nothing free for them there. There's no benefit for them.
Well, there's also another very simple. If we're talking about Islamic immigration, if we're gonna, let's assume that the problem here is Islamic immigration or part of the problem. You can just enforce laws that we already have, like the banning of halal. I think that's already a law. If someone can correct me in the chat or support that, just say that's not, we don't allow that here, and then that's over. Didn't Prince Charles let them do one of their morning prayers in Westminster Abbey or something?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did. I don't know what
he did. And I'm just thinking, I can't imagine that's been reciprocated. Can you imagine one of the major mosques out in Mecca or something letting a load of Christians in? While you're thinking about your civil war, Daniel, I'm going to just read a couple of super chats. I'm going to put this on the bigger screen so I can actually fucking read it. Leon says, hello, Leon, thanks for the lady. There's rumours that they already have arms and police are not allowed to search mosques without permissions and notice. Well, we've all seen what Tommy Robinson, regardless what you think of him, talks about the mosques in Luton and what has been arranged and organised there historically and been proven. The receipts are in. Thank you, Leon. Jordan Taylor said, always great to hear you, Dan. And Chris, hopefully people are finally waking up. We can only hope, mate. Yeah, and I think this is where I'm stuck, because I've said it so many times. And yet, with what Dan's saying, do I really want a war to happen in the UK? Because it's wars are awful things. They're awful things. Millions of people get murdered, tortured, strung up. Women get treated. If you look at the end, I mean, I remember Hugh made an amazing, tear-jerking, heartbreaking video about what happened to the German civilians at the end of World War II, when the Russians and the English and the Allies just poured in, to get their hands on the goods. It was like a fucking tsunami of rape. The German women just got it. And there hasn't been a war in history, certainly not in the last 200 years at least, where that kind of stuff is part of the picture. And we've already had it, let's not forget. So there's so much more to consider than. Again, Dan, I'll put the question to you. What do you actually see? If there is no political solution, is it just a question of the UK is handed over to the invaders, we could call I'm just going to say, whoever they may be, or well, you know, we're on YouTube, or are people going to do something about it? Like Connor said, there's no one to vote for. So we're going to carry on in this situation. The working classes are going to get poorer. The middle classes are likely to disappear, which is one of the first signs of the end of a civilization managing to stay on its feet. The rich will leave.
Well, they already
so
are.
What are you actually considering? Are you talking about mobilizing groups of people to make life hard for people they no longer want in the country? Because the government and the police won't do that, and politics can't do that. That's what you're saying.
Well, first of all, when I think about this collapse scenario, it's not what I want to happen. It's just what I think will happen, because there's not enough force in the opposite direction trying to stop it. In fact, there's an argument to be made that this is what the intended end result is, because I think everyone can see where it's going, and no one's trying to stop it in any meaningful way. It's also not going to play out like a film. It's not going to be the end of V for Vendetta, where the British people all go to the Houses of Parliament and wear a mask and overthrow it. That's not what's going to happen. That's cinematic. That's not real. It's going to be a very dirty, hard situation throughout the entire country, and it may last a long time. I mean, it's not going to be a click your fingers and, oh, here we go, we're winning now. I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be terrible for a lot of people. But
I mean, it already is.
But we're talking about societal collapse here. Like we just mentioned, the economy. What do you think Western Europe, and it's not just Britain, by the way, it's Western European countries. They're all kind of in the same boat.
Sure.
What would a Western Europe look like without a functioning economy? It's going to be fucking chaos.
Well, it just becomes third world. You just have to scrimp and scrape to eat. You start having to grow your own food in the gardens. I mean, if you look at every single communist turnout, they've ended up eating their own dead. You know, famously in the Ukraine, the government were putting up posters advising people not to eat dead babies because of the spread of disease.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can, it's all right for me to say on one hand that war is an awful thing, but just societal collapse has also got its negatives. 42 says the Church of England is the moral compass of the country. Leaving it to the woke 50 years ago is now paying out. And absolutely. I mean, it's weird because you talk to people about Christianity and they're like, no, I'm an atheist. And it's like, well, where do you get your morals from? And they just say, well, I just know it's not right to murder. You go, yeah, but why is it not right? And it's because we're a Christian nation. That's where you get your morals from.
Oh, they'll say it's natural, it's innate. It's just
and no, and it isn't. Yeah, of course it isn't. Okay, let's move on now from.
But before we do, I'm gonna. It's the midstream. It's time for a midstream slash as always, and then I'll break out the booze, and this stream will get a lot more fun for everyone. But that clip you played at the beginning with Connor Tomlinson, who I think is, you said you were very impressed with this new generation of nationalist talkers or commentators, whatever you want to call them. And I don't know how old he is. How old is he? Late 20s is he? If I had to guess, I'm not sure how old he is.
Yeah,
but he's very eloquent in what he says. He's very presentable. I couldn't do what he does. I'm not that way inclined. I'm very much a see what you say what you see kind of person. I'm not. I couldn't put my arms together in a very palatable way for a big platform like that. But I think he is a representation of a lot of people that I've seen recently, and they're popping up all over the place. and you've got to take encouragement from that, especially when they're young people. You know what I mean?
For sure.
People my age and older, we all, we're on the same page. But when you see younger people who are saying the things that got me banned 5 years ago, who got everyone else banned 5-6 years ago, and it's just accepted as being, yes, that's common sense, then you've got to take you've got to take inspiration from that and be pleased about that. So well done to him. I'm very happy
for
about
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me have a splash. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on. I'll put Dottie's donation on the screen. Thank you, Dottie, for going and buying me a coffee. That's very kind of you. I think I'll sort of want to wait for Dan to get back, but it's a good excuse for me to thank young Dottie. Thank you, Dottie. I'm going to give you some special effects to help fill in the time. If people are wondering why I'm sounding slightly knackered, 1, I'm old. 2, it's midnight here and I've been working all week. And 3, I've just written a 90,000 word novel in about 8 weeks now. I'm just finishing the second draft. So yeah, apologies if I'm lulling you into some kind of hypnotic trance with my voice. Dottie says, excellent discussion and content, Chris. Thank you. And thank you, Dottie. It's much appreciated.
Chat's flying.
Packer, someone asked me to... 42, thanks for that one as well, mate. I'm not sure if I actually thanked you. Someone asked me what you thought, Packer. What do you make on all this? I know it's not really your...
No, I think the system isn't broken. That, as shown by Farage saying, we can't possibly send anyone home, when clearly 2,000 miles away, you can send whoever you want home. How can it not be done?
Look at what old Bellew done in El Salvador. El Salvador was run by the cartels. It was literally one of the most dangerous places on the planet. You couldn't go out after it got dark. There was no street lights. It was run by the cartels. He gave the government the money, the resources, and the ability to do something about it. They built a load of mega prisons. They locked up every single gang member, and it's one you come out of that prison in a box. There's no fucking 2 years, 3 years. He gave them a chance, but when they all just went into hiding, they went out. They rounded them all up. One of his prisons has got something like 70,000 inmates in it. They're all covered in their MS-13 tattoos and all that. They ain't ever getting out of that. And now El Salvador, I think, is the safest place in the Western Hemisphere. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Let me just check on that.
You know, when we used to go to parties and get drunk, Chris, and the first guy that fell asleep got his face drawn on,
or his eyebrows taken off. Yeah.
Can you imagine how MS fun that would be now?
Well, when I was in Thailand about 10 years ago, I was out swimming in the sea in Patong, and I met these 3 English lads. Immediately got on with them, good lads, up for a laugh. And we had a little chat and that, and we were throwing around this little ball. And one of them said, should we go and get shit-faced? And I was like, yeah, sweet. And as we were all walking out of the sea, one of them turned around. I was about 35, he was about 18. And you know the classic dick drawing, like your ball, your penis, your ball, 3 pubes each side, line and Japanese eye. Someone had tattooed that on his back about that big while he was asleep. That was his version of having his face drawn on and his eyebrows. I said, mate, why have you got 9-inch dick on your back? And his other mate went, we done it to him when he was shit-faced. We just done it like with a fucking sewing needle and some like prison tattooing. You can just knock it up out of ash or whatever. I said, what do you make about that? And he was like, it's just one of those things you have to live with.
I like how we went from talking about societal collapse to dicks on backs.
Yeah, you were gone ages, Dan. You were gone hours.
Yeah,
it's like that isn't what we normally talk about. It doesn't immediately go there. Usually,
never.
So so I did exaggerate a bit, but Packer was just talking about the fact. What was your line, Packer?
What, the system isn't broken?
Packer was saying the system isn't broken because just over the Atlantic, you can see that you can deport criminals. You can deport people who come into your country illegally. And I mentioned Bellew, the El Salvadorian president, who just had enough, built a load of mega prisons and give his army the resources and the powers to go round up all the gangs, chuck them in those prisons, and they're in there for life. And El Salvador was one of the most dangerous places on the planet, and now it's one of the most safest. And it took about 6 months. They really did. I know it's different problems, but it was interesting that Bellew had a visit with Trump, and there's a great. Let me see if I can find it. If it looks like it's going to take too long, I'll not bother.
I don't. By the way, I agree. If the will is there, the political system can be used to enforce whatever you want to enforce. For whatever reason, our system is exclusionary to people who actually want to do that. You look at El Salvador, and you're absolutely right. I've been following them for a few years. The president is very high on Bitcoin as well, which is how I originally heard about him. But what he's done with law and order in the country is incredible. And you see the Western media attacking him for what he's done over there. And it's just like, well, I don't think the innocent Salvadorian citizens are complaining about it, actually.
No,
I think they're probably happy to walk down the street and get fucking shot in the face now. Imagine if we did something similar here. It would be a very popular policy with the public. I read some of the other day, I think polling numbers show that young people in this country are like 55% in favor of bringing back the death penalty. I might have that a little bit wrong in terms of numbers, but I think the majority of young people support the death penalty being brought back in Britain.
Well, I think
that says a lot, doesn't it?
Aren't UK prisons something like 60% Islamic now? And I recently watched a Tommy Robinson interview. And regardless of what you think of Tommy Robinson, he was on the block, so he was in solitary. But they emptied the whole block because it was just too much of a risk. They could have put him in a prison with no Muslims. There are some, like Cat B's or whatever. But they put him in one that's got one of the biggest Muslim populations, got some of the most dangerous Islamists in there. But they had to empty all the cells so that he could get to his yard and do his 30-minute walking around a circle, couple of chin-ups and that. And he walked past all these cells that were usually for Muslim inmates, and they had kitchens. Now, I'm not talking about a little stove. I'm talking about an oven, a microwave, a deep fat fryer. I mean, giving someone in prison a deep fat fryer just seems ridiculous to me. They had like proper mirrors on the walls, windows, beds with proper bedding. He said they were like travel lodge hotels. And there's a simple reason why, because if you upset them in prison, one of your guards is going to get a sharpened toothbrush in the neck that day. And so they're not in prison being punished. They're in prison being placated. And they're quite happy with it because it's an amazing recruiting ground. It's an incredible recruiting ground. If these people are immigrants and they've broken the law, much like Trump, why aren't they just being sent home? You've come here, you've broken our laws. The amount of money it costs to keep someone in prison as well. I mean, they're still drawing on our tapes. There's still a drain even when you lock them up.
Well, it's so ridiculous and so nonsensical that it's difficult for anyone to believe that it's just a mistake. That it's just, we're so dumb, we don't know how to run this place. You can't be that stupid, I'm afraid. You cannot be that stupid.
Unfortunately, I can't find this Nayib Bukele interview, but there's this English reporter there, and he says you've been going around the media bragging about your mega prisons and how you've taken all these gang members off the street and they won't be coming out of those prisons alive. But what about their human rights? What about this? What about that? And he said, Bukele just says to it, he says to him, and I'm having to obviously paraphrase. He says, listen, he said, El Salvador had different problems to the UK, very different problems. And that requires different solutions. And I've implemented those solutions and we've taken back our nation. And we've now got a nation where people feel safe to walk around the streets, where people are setting up businesses, where the GDP is going up again, where they're getting into Bitcoin. I think they're looking at it as, I don't quote me on this, maybe you know, Dan, or someone in the chat.
It's legal tender over there.
Isn't there something about tethering the fiat to it or something? I'm sure I read something like that. Anyway, I don't know enough about that to go into it unless someone else can give me some info. And he says this English bloke, he says, you talk about human rights and you talk about blah, 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 blah. He says, you look after your own country, because from where I'm standing, you've got your own problems. It's wicked. It just says to him, shut up. Just shut up. I've sorted our problems. You haven't even started. You don't even know what they are yet.
The thing is, I always find it crazy how, this is why I think it's all malicious, because if you want to get the public on side, if you actually want to do something good for the country, it's actually not that complicated. What do people want? They want an economy that makes them feel like they can actually afford to live. You know, so they're not taxed out the arse. The costs aren't going through the roof. Inflation's kept under control. They want safety in the streets. They don't want to walk down the street and feel unsafe and get robbed and all this type of thing. And they want some element of community cohesion. They want to know that their neighbors are good people. They want to be able to trust people in their own bloody country. And we have none of those things in Britain right now. And it seems to me that these things, I'm not saying they're simple to sort out, but you look at El Salvador and they just went on a no-nonsense approach on crime and look at the results. Why can't we do that? It's because nobody has the will to do it that are in those roles.
Well, not only that, we haven't got a political party to vote for. We haven't got someone prepared to. I mean, look at PA. PA had ideas along those lines, but they would not let them become a political party.
Yeah, the political system is exclusionary on purpose. It's designed to stop meaningful change. So you'll get
designed
people
to
who are
prevent
acceptable.
radicalism. Exactly the same as the French system, where you can win the first round and then all the left get together and vote you out for the second round.
Which is why I think, as we were talking about before, Chris, this is why I think the collapse is inevitable, because the political system does not allow anything else.
I found that clip. Now, unfortunately, it's 12 minutes. We're not going to watch all of that, but I just want to see a little bit of it, because I just want you to see the passion this bloke talks with, because he's succeeded. He's done it. He took back control of El Salvador, and it's working. I haven't seen this. Interestingly, it's on India Today. I didn't manage to find it on CNN or MSNBC or the BBC or anything like that on YouTube. It's on India Today. Now, I haven't seen this. It's 12 minutes. There's two bits that have had the most viewing. It's the first couple of minutes and a bit later on. So we'll watch them just to get an idea of maybe just a bit of encouragement that, I imagine people in El Salvador 5 years ago just thought life was going to be hell for them and their kids and their kids' kids, and that was just the state of play.
And how quickly it changed.
Yeah, exactly. So let's have a watch a bit of this. Apologies if it's dubbed in Indian and I didn't know, and I'll just have to stop it. But we'll watch a couple of the most watched bits. Here we go.
The best government, and you put him to govern Afghanistan and tell them, okay, you govern Afghanistan the same way you govern this European country. You'll be dead in a week because you cannot govern Afghanistan like you govern Europe. We don't tell you that you shouldn't have a monarchy. I mean, we're fine with your monarchy. We love your monarchy. It's fine. We don't say, oh, you shouldn't have a monarchy and you shouldn't have hereditary titles. Why? Because it's your country. You can do whatever you want with it. In the 80s, the war. You had a fight with the Soviet Union. Had nothing to do.
This is him responding to the English journalist who started telling him he shouldn't be doing these things because they're against human rights. And so he's coming back with, look at your problems and they ain't the same as ours.
Do with us. What did you do? You financed El Salvador to fight a war between us, between brothers. 1 million displaced. They went to the US into ghettos. They formed the gangs. Then they deport the gangs. Gangs come here. You say.
He's just accused the English journalist of the fact, the historical fact, that England was part of funding the El Salvadorian civil war against itself, which caused, of course, loads of them to move to America. It's just an absolute, it's a back slap in the face.
Send us another recipe. Law to don't arrest minors. But all the gang members were minors at the time. So gangs grew and then they terrorized the country. They started killing people and we became the murder capital of the world. El Salvador was turned from the most dangerous place in the world to the safest in the Western Hemisphere.
El Salvador President Nayib Bukele was speaking to the press.
We don't need to see this bit. We'll see if we'll go to the other most watched bit.
And that you will need to arrest 570,000 people. But of course, we want to be careful and don't arrest the lady that probably helped because she thought that she needed to help because her life was in danger. So we're sparing 85% of the tally that the organizations that you finance established way before our government. So why do we have the biggest incarceration rate in the world? Because we changed the murder capital of the world's most dangerous country, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the only way to do that is to arrest all the murderers. There's no other way to do it. Well, the other way to be to kill all the murderers, but we don't have the authority to arrest all the murderers. So you say, why is such a big number? Well, what do you expect? That we arrest 100 people and we leave 69,900 gang members in the streets and suddenly the murder rate will drop? Or do you expect that we, because we're Salvadorans or something, because we're second-class citizens or something, we have to die? They have to kill our families, they have to kill our children, because your liberal ideas of what a democracy should be have to be respected. And we, since we're not using your recipe, then we have to be killed. We have to let our children be killed. We have to let the bloodshed to go on for 50 years because of imported policies from your countries, because your countries have lectured us. In the 80s, the war. You had a fight with the Soviet Union, had nothing to do with us. What did you do? You financed El Salvador to fight a war between us, between brothers. And we killed each other, and 85,000 Salvadorans died. After that, 1 million displaced. They went to the US into ghettos. They formed the gangs. Then they deport the gangs. Gangs come here. You send us another recipe. Law to don't arrest minors. Okay, but all the gang members were minors at the time. So gangs grew and then they terrorized the country. They started killing people and we became the murder capital of the world. Nobody could solve it. We took the recipes from the OAS, we took the recipes from the UN, we took the recipes from the European Union, we took the recipes from the United States. None of the recipes worked. More bloodshed, more people were dying. So what do? Okay, we do something and we save people. And now we're the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. But suddenly something's bad. Oh, but you shouldn't do that. You should do what I think you should do. Why? Not only we have the right to do what we think is right, and what the Salvadoran people are gonna decide whether or not they want this day in free elections, but also we've proven it works. And you haven't proven that your system works in our country. Might work in yours, I don't know. But it doesn't work.
It doesn't work in our country, pal. Don't worry.
Yeah,
You're right.
And I think when he says that, it's a bit tongue in cheek, isn't it? He knows that. Oh, it might work where you are. He knows that English. I mean, I think that's wonderful. He listed 3 or 4 times there where the liberal West, he called them recipes. I suppose he means solutions. No, you've got to do it like this. So he tried it, and then they funded a civil war. No, you've got to do this. So they tried it. Then they all ran away to America. It lived in the ghettos. Then they come back and said, no, you can't arrest them. They're minors. And they all grew up, and we tried that, and then we became one of the most dangerous places on the world. So in the end, someone like him stood up, was democratically elected
twice,
and he's done it. He's absolutely done it. Now, what upsets me, because that's really encouraging. It's really encouraging. I'll get up some footage of these prisons. It's quite interesting because they talk to some of the prisons, some of the prisoners, and they say, you know, and I don't know whether they said you fucking say it or you'll get tortured. I don't know, but oh, bollocks, I've lost my thread now. But yeah, they say, look, I was in a gang, I've done bad things. I'm in here now. And that's just part of gang life. But they're quite something. I mean, the BBC has made so many videos on these mega prisons, and every single angle is this is a terrible, awful, inhumane thing. And yet El Salvador has rescued itself from where you think we're going, Dan. You know, it's rescued itself from a place run by lunatic, drug-fueled, dangerous, vicious, spiteful men. It has done that.
And isn't it so interesting that the Western media seemingly are always on the side of horrible killers and criminals? They're always the most concerned. And the reason for that is that this guy has shown a solution to a certain problem that people in the West are looking at and thinking, well, why can't we do something like that? And that's dangerous for the order, because they don't want people to realize, actually, you can control your own destiny. If you really want to, you can. El Salvador was a shithole. It was the murder capital of whatever the stat is. And now it's not. Now it's actually a nice place to be.
There's so many.
Why can't Britain go back to what it used to be? Why can't it?
There's so many beautiful videos on YouTube of El Salvador now, and there's just families in the street, you know, in the parks, and they interview them. They said, you know, literally a year ago, you couldn't do this. You couldn't do this because we were controlled by gangs. We would have to do work. They'd get them working. You know, they'd get kids working. You've got to take this parcel over there. You've got to do this.
And I noticed in his speech, he said there was a phrase he used that I thought was telling. He said something about we have to look out for our brothers or something like that, right? Which, you know, he's talking about.
He was talking about when the English funded the El Salvadorian war against El Salvadorians. They were killing each other. He said that we were killing our brothers.
Yeah, so he's acknowledging that they're one people who need to be together and united in order to face all these different issues that they're facing. And I just think back, you know, we're talking about Connor Tomlinson earlier and people like him. And it annoys me a bit to think back to the last decade of what have been the most acceptable political commentary voices on the quote unquote right. And you're looking at people like Douglas Murray, you're looking at people like Jordan Peterson, you're looking at people like Ben Shapiro. And what's the one thing they all hammered over and over and over again? They said, never engage in identity politics because that just makes you like the left.
Yeah, they're anti-collectivist, aren't they?
Anti-collectivism, anti-identitarianism. Well, look at where the world is now. Look at what the West is like now. How can you in good faith, and they were never in good faith, by the way, but how can you possibly say that to the people of this country specifically? You cannot group together to protect your own interests and your own lives.
I'll never get over when Konstantin Kisin had that victim of a grooming gang, and let's just think about what that means. You know, repeated absolute trauma, repeated for a few years at least.
Yeah,
and and she said that where she comes from, the Islamists are all a gang. She said, and we don't have that. There's no white community. Words to that effect. And Konstantin Kissin said to her, he said, well, we don't want that to happen again, do we? Suggesting white collectivization. And then he looked over his shoulder and he went, because you know what happened, like in history, figuratively suggesting that whenever white people collectivize, they become Nazis.
Right.
What a disgusting thing to say to someone who was a victim of an immigrant grooming gang. Because if there was a white community, a native community at least, in her town, it would have probably not happened. Mm-hmm. And so it's the one thing that may have stopped it happening. And if the natives can collectivize now, it's the one thing that might stop it happening again. And Kissin took it off the table based on this airy-fairy idea that when Caucasians get together, when Anglo-Saxons get together, they're Nazis. I mean, for fuck's sake.
We're not allowed to protect our people because his people would be feeling under threat if we did, because of this foundational story of the Western world post 1945. That's what it is.
Exactly. But that geezer, Konstantin Kissin, and his pet dog, they're held up as the sort of the big revolutionary radical voices of our time, and it just blows my mind. You know,
Chris, they're having the debates that nobody else dares to have. You know,
they are now talking about things that they on streams, and I've got the receipts. They called me a smelly little racist and a Nazi on a stream, and they're now talking about those things to earn a living.
When did they say that?
Oh, it was about 6 years ago. Because I dared to suggest that there might be a problem with mass uncontrolled immigration. And back in the day, there wasn't any money there, so they didn't talk about it. And his little dog, who actually accused me of saving his life. And I promise you, I have no idea what he's talking about. On Twitter once, he said, you used to be lovely, you saved my life, but you've turned into like an arsehole. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, just go. You know what? Once, right, I noticed that if Kissin hasn't got that leash tight, old Foster goes a bit off piste. And they had Posey Parker on there, and I get on with Posey because she's finally worked it out. Mm-hmm. And I watched it, and I thought, hang on a minute. I mean, he doesn't contribute much. I mean, Kissin only probably keeps him around to keep the admin going and do all the word processing and the spreadsheets while he's trying to become a celebrity. And I edited out everything apart from Francis Foster's contributions.
I remember
it was the video was about an hour and 40 minutes long. And once I took out everything Posey Parker said, everything Kissin said, I had about 3.5 minutes of Francis Foster, and more than half of that was him going and you know what? I couldn't release it. As much as I detest their money sniffing, unconvincing, just unconvincing sort of, where's the overton window? Quick, let's peek through it for a couple of minutes and make some money. I couldn't do that to him. I couldn't do it. If I saved his life once, that may have killed him. And I can't be guilty of that.
He is a bit like a golden retriever, just sausages. That's all he says every fucking stream. Sausages. Yeah, fucking hell. But the weird thing, I mean, they're not the only ones. I mean, they're the most egregious ones because they're well, they started when I was still going. They kind of when I got banned, they rose up after me, and they were in an era when everyone was getting banned. Trigonometry, the people that are having the conversations that nobody else dares to have remained a constant and have only grown and exponentially. And now they're millionaires and they've got a huge production team. How strange is that? And yes, they do owe me money, but I'm not going to get that money back from someone like Kissin. I'll tell you that for a fact. But
you
then
told him you wanted it. You give him a super chat, didn't you? And you said, "I want my $5 back."
Yeah, he owes me a $5. But then not the other ones. I mean, now, sorry, Chris.
Well, Dan, sorry. Thank you, Scorry, for that. I just want to move on. Before you move on,
okay.
The really interesting thing about those two pillocks is there's no solutions. There's no solutions. It's easy to put a spotlight on problems, but they know, and of course they know. You know, the pet dog he doesn't know. He doesn't know anything. But Kissin knows full well that if he starts going towards solutions, he was interviewed. I can't remember. I think it might have been the Spectator or the New States, more likely the Spectator. And the interviewer slags him all the way. He's sort of like the man of the moment, Konstantin Kissin, strolls up to the cafe like almost with his filofax in his hand, like looking, oh, where's my next meeting? And at the end of the interview, hang on, let me find it. Won't take long.
You've said this to me before, but it is worth repeating because it is funny.
Yes.
And very telling.
It's a lovely little end. No, it's going to likely be the New Statesman.
He saved his life, Francis Foster. Amazing.
So this is I'll put it on the screen for what it's worth. It's writing, but there's quite a funny little picture of him. So is that up, Packer? Yeah. Konstantin Kissin, being anti-woke isn't making you happy. Okay, so we already know that this is a couple of years ago. Yeah, there you go, 2023, because he wouldn't say that now. Anyway, The podcaster is the viral man of the moment, but does he really have anything to say? By Will Lloyd. And there he is. I mean, the thing about Kissin is he looks like he's already died. He looks like a dead person. He's like grey. Anyway,
I thought he looked like a puppet from Thunderbirds. That's what I always thought he looked like.
He's got very much of Parker, yes, my lady, but out of uniform. Yeah, you're right. So opening gambit. Don't misrepresent me, said Konstantin Kissin as our interview ended. Kissin, a podcaster pundit and self-professed satirist. Oh, by the way, they're not comedians anymore. They've stopped that one. And they were shit as well. Everyone knew it. Because that's how I know Francis, because I used to be a comedian. And while I was getting £1,000 a gig, he was still doing open mics. Is a man who believes in free speech, so long as it reflects well on him. And then I'll put the link in actually because it's worth a read. But then when you get to the end of it, if they let me, without a paywall, here we go. Right. Given the platform by a mainstream publication to say whatever he felt, Kissin didn't have much to say. And when he told me unsmilingly not to misrepresent him, a sad thought floated into my head. Misrepresent him? There would have to be something there to represent in the first place. And that, for me, is just nails it. You know, it's just, they just follow the money. And where's the solutions? Where's the dangerous stuff that might actually cause your YouTube channel to stop at 19,400 for 5 years? Like, or I don't know, might actually get your YouTube channel not 3 strikes and out, just wiped off the face of the earth like Dan's. How many subscribers?
Not just me, everybody at the time gone.
How many subs did you have, Dan?
220.
220,000. How long did it take you to make a video?
Oh, Christ, I don't know, a few days. I mean, whatever, it varied.
Well, a few days editing, but I imagine there was a couple of weeks putting work into it. It was your full-time job. And because you dared to suggest solutions, and then you had the Daily Mirror parked up on your grandmother's lawn. And that's why they don't do that. That's why they've got nothing to say. And this isn't, I'm not just picking on kissing. It isn't that important to me. But as you're about to say, Dan, there's a whole kind of coven of that sort of people. And I put Connor above them. We used to laugh at Sargon of Akkad. Sargon was a bit funny. It was Kek. It was Kekistan, but it was a good entry point for young men who might start their red pill journey. But you've got around it to him. The Lotus Eaters is on the money. Is it always? No. Is it as far as I'd like it to be? No, because it can't be because of the platform it's on. But of all the stuff on YouTube at the moment, I think the Lotus Eaters is one of the more radical and risk-taking of all the podcasts at the moment.
Yeah, I enjoy them a lot. I think everyone involved is doing good stuff. I like Sargon now. Not that I ever disliked him. I just thought that he was clinging on to that civic nationalist kind of worldview for a long time. He was
Gamergate, wasn't he? That was Sargon.
Yeah, he's old school. He's from that time. But now, I mean, I interact with him every now and then on Twitter. He says stuff to me, and he's a good lad. I think he's doing good work, and people in the Lotus Eaters as well.
Osmeister, thanks for the lady Godiva. He says, who's kissing sidekick in his channel? The guy with the glasses. He looks gormless and living in another world. Yeah, that's Francis Foster. That's the bloke who I didn't know. I saved his life. That's the bloke we were talking about. I've got to find you this picture. Hang on. This will be worth it. What's the woman who's in A Fish Called Wanda, always known for having nice boobs? What's her name? Come on.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. Right, check this out. I've got to find you this. It's so good. Hang on.
I watched A Fish Called Wanda recently again. I love it. It's good. Very funny.
So there was this, she put on Twitter, I've got to find the picture. Right, here it is. This is it. Hang on, I know you can't see anything, people, but I'm going to get it up on my Paint Shop Pro version 7, cracked. And someone, I can't remember who it was a scrub who wrote it, but it was so good. So Jamie Lee Curtis, Packer, can you see that? No, you can't. I know you can't. Hang on a minute. So have a look at that picture. Have a look at that picture, people. That's Jamie Lee Curtis in the middle there, right? I'm just zooming in a little bit.
Oh, I've seen this before. I know what this is.
Now, Jamie Lee Curtis said under that picture, I bet you can't tell which of my daughters is trans, right? And one scrub said, is the one on the left Francis Foster? It's just too good. I mean, come on. Oh, I wonder. Who could it be? I mean, there is obviously an outside chance that your other daughter was just a donkey, but I'm going to put pretty much everything I own on the bloke on her right is the one that isn't a woman.
Do you want a nuanced view of this, by the way?
I do, but I want to just thank Osmeister. Thank you, mate. Go on, Dan, take it away, son.
Well, of course, a ridiculous post. I don't know what she was trying to achieve. But then again, Hollywood person in a Hollywood bubble, they don't see the world the same as us. They're in a fucking Lulu land somewhere.
Dan, can I just interrupt? Do you really think that's what it is? Do you think that she's just, when she rocks up to a Hollywood party with fucking Herman Munster and her daughter, that her crowd say to her, oh, what a transformation. Nice one, Bethel, or whatever your name is. Do you think that because she's in a bubble, she actually can't see that it's blatantly obvious which one is not a woman.
But I don't know, because if you're in that world, nobody tells the truth in that world.
Jamie
Everyone
Lee
gassing
wasn't
each
the
other
most
up.
classically beautiful woman herself, was she? Let's be fair.
Well, she had
there
weren't
many blokes that looked above the neck as below. Let's put it that way.
I've still got that picture up, and I'm looking at her now, and actually, when I'm thinking which one is the trans, it could be one or two at the moment. If you have a look at it, again.
That's what I'm saying. Her mum, Jamie Lee, was a handsome woman. Can we say that?
A handsome woman.
Well, yeah, it's fair enough.
Well, she always had that short hair, didn't she? She never had a feminine haircut. It's always been this Richard Hammond style haircut.
Couple of nice lads. But Dan, sorry, continue. But I am that thing about them living in the bubble. Can it? I suppose, but the nearest I've got to it is being at art school. But even then, I remember once we were getting so much feminism foisted down our throats. And I said to one of my tutors once, I said, we've had one term this year, and I've already had 6 lectures and 2 seminars on feminism. And he all laughed. He went, well, they do make up around 50% of the population. And I said, yeah, but so do men, and I've heard nothing about that. And he went, oh, Christopher, you are one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But are these people that stupid, or is it just a question of playing the game? I don't.
Well,
I don't. Dan, with your point.
I don't know, but let's just say that you are her son, right? That she claims as a daughter. Put yourself in his shoes, right? You've grown up with a world famous Hollywood actress as your mother, and you're also growing up in a bubble. He probably doesn't realize the truth of how he comes across, because everyone around him is just bigging him up to be, yeah, you do you look beautiful, you're wonderful. When you're in that world and no one's actually telling you the cold hard truth, you are. I don't even think it's his fault. He's just there. She's the one propping him up, and that industry is the one creating this false reality here. If you're him, he's just like, oh, I look great in this dress. I can't wait to go out to the premiere tonight.
Dan, what you're making me think is, a couple of years ago, there was this whole thing about us living in a post-truth society. It was kind of tethered onto Francis Fukuyama's End of History and the Last Man thesis, but without the thorough historical analysis and critical thinking. But it was kind of tethered to it. And I suppose it comes to a point where it doesn't matter if they're lying, because if everyone's lying, it's like a magic trick. You don't look like a pretty bird. But if everyone's going to tell you that you are, oh, you look lovely tonight, Cinderella. If you're that shallow, then it has the same effect as the truth, because no one's going to pop the balloon.
Well, it's the emperor. The emperor has no clothes, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's all.
No one's going to pop the balloon except for the 5,000 ratio comments under the X post.
They probably don't even run their own Twitter account, though. That's the thing. So they don't even see that.
Because it takes them out of that illusory sphere that maintains their nonsense.
When you have celebrities that actually run their own accounts, you get people like Stephen King who just embarrass himself on a daily basis, and it's definitely him.
Shame. I don't like Stephen King's writing. I'm not interested in horror, but Stephen King wrote a book called On Writing, and it's one of the best treatises on writing fiction I've ever read. And I mean, the thing is when people say to me, oh, I don't like Derrida. I'm like, what, a geezer who's writing for 40 years and whose ideas changed? You don't like any of it? Maybe round it down to a book rather than an author. Osmeister has dropped a 10 spot in, and he says, by the way, I discovered Dangerfield from the Iconoclast. So thanks, Dan. Please put your old videos to view again, unless you deleted them. I also want to know Dan's thoughts on Narinder Kaur. Good old Narinder Kaur. Thank you, Osmeister. Very kind. And before you answer that, Dan, Zeitgeist, much appreciated, mate. Nice to see you here. I didn't see you in the chat before. He's dropped in 14.99. Watching those civnats slow move in our direction has been quite enjoyable. Yeah, absolutely. When they called me a smelly little racist and a Nazi, and 6 years later they're saying the things that they accused me of saying, that, you know, if ever I go back to England and bump into Francis, I'll obviously save his life. Well, to do that, I'll have to try and kill him first. So that could turn out quite well. But I'll say to him, I'll say, you smelly little racist and you Nazi, you know what I'm talking about. And he'll go, anyway, tonight. I think that's excellent, Dan. I really like that. That's brilliant. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ozmeister. Much appreciated. Thank you, Scory, as well.
So what was the question? I forgot what he said now. Ozmeister.
Hang on. I think I missed this one from Jordan. Jordan Taylor said, always great to hear you, Dan. Hang on, where is it? Always great to hear you, Dan. Oh, no, we did do that one. You were saying, balls. Packer, can you remember? We were talking about the Hollywood bubble. We were talking about illusions. Oh, yeah.
No, Ozmeister said something.
What do you make of Narendra Kaur? I'd like to know.
Oh, right. That's the one. Well,
she's shocking, isn't she?
Well, the first thing he said that is he discovered you thanks to me, and I just want to apologize to him right now for that. I'm sorry.
There's no need for that. Absolutely no need for that.
I feel like I have to cover my bases here. But Narendra is she's just a professional grifter. I mean, she exists in order to anger people, not only for personal gain, because she's definitely gaining monetarily from her rage bait, and that's all it is. It's rage bait. There was a video of her at a protest, at one of these hotel protests recently, and some guy was filming her, and she was just robotically typing into her phone at this protest, probably tweeting some absolute nonsense. And she's there to cause a reaction. It's what she's the racial grifter equivalent of Talk Sport. You know, Talk Sport.
Brilliant. That's perfect.
They say something stupid on air, so they get angry fans to call in and shout and be emotional and pay by the minute. That's the fucking business model. That's what she does. And my advice to everyone is just to ignore her. Just pretend she doesn't exist. Fucking block her. Just block her. Mute her at least. Just don't even engage with it. It's not worth your time.
I think that's a brilliant, what's the word? It's not equivocation, equivalence. It's a brilliant equivalence. It's just, she's got a clickbait model where she knows she's going to cause problems. She's going to get clicks. And you can tell that as well because she's not bright.
No,
she's not clever.
Did you see her talking to Sargon and bloody Lower
I was just about to see it, and I looked at Sargon while it was on, and you could see he was like,
he couldn't believe it, could he? He was like, Jesus.
She's really, really stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if she's got quite a big agent behind her, because that's why she gets on every show. And they say to her, look, don't get into policy, don't get into history. It's not your area. Just say something controversial and just keep defending it, because that's all she does.
I think it was percentages she shouldn't have got into, wasn't it?
Say it again, mate.
She said it was percentages she shouldn't have got into with Sargon, wasn't it?
On Sargon's stream? Yeah, she just said you're not. She said you're wrong. Like, huh? Yeah, she said no, it isn't. He went, no, it is. She went, no, it's not. She went, that's just not true. And he went, well, it is though. She went, where are you getting your figures from? And he was like, government. It was like Ofsted or something. And she went, well, that's just not true. And he said, have you got any counterfeit? You know, he just couldn't believe that that was her argument. It's not true. So which is it's like intellectually immature. I don't want to believe that, so it isn't true. That's it.
And by the way, I thought Sargon was very kind to her. He didn't snap at her. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't aggressive at all. He gave her enough rope for herself. Really, that's what he did.
There you go.
Which is always the best tactic to do, because she used
classic
it. She used it very well.
Yeah, it was a classic art of war. Don't Don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
Yeah,
he was polite, wasn't he? He was no, go on, carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, in his suit, he was a proper gentleman with his suit and tie. No, go on, Derrida, go on.
Yeah, look, I found a little 3-minute video of the El Salvador mega prisons, but it's quite. I haven't seen this, by the way, so if it's a drag, I'll just stop it. But it's interesting because because Bailu said to Trump, "You can put your MS-13 deportees in our prisons if you need somewhere to put them." And that's Bailu just getting good. I'll do you a favor, Trump. And that's global relations, isn't it? Building them up. So let's have a little watch of this, so we'll get to see a bit of these prisons. I don't know how much we'll see of it. Let me just have a little spin. Oh yeah, you get to see plenty of it. I mean, they're nasty places. You do not come out. It's 24. It's 24/24. So you're locked up 24 hours a day, because you have murdered people and you have raped and you have killed and you have wrecked an entire nation and tried to wreck more. Let's do a full screen on this. Sorry, people, I forgot to put the audio up. Apologies. It is 1 o'clock in the morning here and I'm shattered. I didn't shart myself. That's a different word. Here we go.
The U.S. has sent hundreds of mostly Venezuelan migrants to be held without trial at this mega prison in El Salvador. It's known as CCOT, an acronym for Terrorism Confinement Center in Spanish. The prison opened in February 2023 as part of Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele's highly popular hardline security policy, which has resulted in a sharp drop in homicides. El Salvador claims it is Latin America's biggest, with capacity for 40,000 inmates. It stretches across 57 acres and is located in an isolated rural region east of the capital, San Salvador. Bukele has said the prison cost $115 million to develop and equip. Video taken from...
Hello, Moslab. What an absolute pleasure to see you here. I hope you're well, son.
Inside the facility often shows prisoners tightly packed together with their heads shaved. The mega prison doesn't have an outdoor recreational area and won't allow family visits. A September 2024 report from the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights expressed concerns about overcrowding. It cited a study that found CCOT inmates had an average of 6.45 square feet of space, which is below international standards. Bukele declared a state of emergency in 2022 that he said was needed to combat the country's notorious gangs and crime rate. It remains in effect, and some 84,000 people have been arrested. This includes alleged members of El Salvador's Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13 gang, and its rival, Barrio 18. But human rights organizations have criticized El Salvador's prisons, and especially CCOT. They've reported human rights violations like torture, inmate death.
It just sickens me. The human rights people. I mean, look at the inmates.
And mass trials. During a visit from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in February, Bukele offered to incarcerate criminals deported from the U.S. in the mega prison.
He has agreed to accept for deportation.
The Trump administration first deported 261 people to El Salvador on March 15th. For 137 of them, the U.S. government justified the move under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, saying the men were members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, but providing few details about their cases. The White House said the U.S. government paid El Salvador about $6 million to receive the deportees.
Wow, I mean, I'm even more on board now that I've seen that.
Yeah, it's that as as Bukele said, they had a problem and they had to find a solution. You know, that civil war that the UK and the US funded, I think it went on for over 10 years. It was something like...
I'm not going to pretend to know anything about that. I don't know. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. 1979 to 1992. That was a 12-year conflict in El Salvador between the US-backed government and the left-wing Farabundo Marti National Liberation Front. It resulted in 75,000 El Salvadorian deaths. And the peace agreement ended the fighting and led to political reforms in 92. And where did El Salvador end up after those political reforms? One of the most dangerous places on the planet. And so you can see why Bukele's like, you can keep your nose out of our business because you had it in there for the last 50 years. And when we decided to take charge, it's taken care of. Now,
well, I mean, the history of the CIA in Latin America is just extensive. It's crazy to even think about the extent.
Noriega, the lot of them. It even goes as far as Our Man in Havana. If you haven't read Graham Greene's Our Man in Havana, you've got to read it. Graham Greene was in the English Secret Services, by the way, so he knows how it works. I'll give you the rough of it. There's a bloke who works in like a Hoover vacuum repair shop in Havana, and the UK Secret Service, they sort of, because his daughter's got some kind of relationship with the chief of the local police, they recruit him as like a spy. And Graham Greene has said in interviews about this novel that it's not that far from the truth. This is how it all used to work back then. You know, they just found a bloke who worked in a corner shop and said, can you keep your eye out, you know? And I don't want to give too much away, but because he's getting a fair amount of money and a fair amount of power out of it, Our Man in Havana starts sort of, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's a great read. You'll do it in a day. You'll do it in a day. Our Man in Havana, Graham Greene. It's fucking brilliant. There you go. Right, where are we? Right, well, we've done 2 hours, people. I mean, if you got anything more, Dan, you want to offer on to the situation? I think we should round up with, where do you see things going then? What is your outlook for the next 5 years?
I think I said everything I need to say about that really at the beginning of the stream. I mean, general term collapse. That's what I think. And the specifics.
Do you mean like a Gavin Bowby kind of collapse? Because Gavin Bowby's got an interesting thing that I'm sort of half with, where he says that because of these tribal balkanized enclaves, they just don't have the skills to repair their plumbing, to repair their windows, to repair their heating. And professionals from other tribes refuse to go into those areas. You know, it's similar to the likes of Walmart and Target leaving the ghettos because people are just walking out without paying for, you know, if it's under $1,000 worth of stuff, you don't have to pay for it. So Walmart are leaving these places, and you make a ghetto more of a ghetto. So are you talking about that kind of sort of failure and breakdown, where people just haven't got access to sort of basic first world facilities and like some kind of apocalyptic sort of gangs going around and fighting each other and then leading to bigger gangs and then you end up with a civil war?
It sounds like The Warriors, the 70s film. Did you ever see that?
Brilliant movie.
Yeah. That's what it sounded like. Well, I don't know a lot about what Gavin Bowby says about this, to be honest, but generally speaking, I do think balkanization of England is going to happen.
But what are you talking about? Are you talking about inter-immigrant groups or class groups, or a bit of both?
No, I think the longer time goes on, class becomes less relevant because the upper middle class whites that have supported the regime so far it's going to end up in their neighborhood eventually as well. And then it's not their personal wealth and their status isn't going to actually matter at all. They're just going to be thrown in with the rest of us.
If the working classes just stop paying their taxes, it's over in about a week.
Then but that's not going to happen, though, is it? I mean, what you need is what's going to happen is an economic collapse, like we talked about. So then.
But if that's not going to happen, are they actually going to form gangs to defend their homeland?
I just think, I don't know. I mean, things are going to happen naturally. I mean, you see these things in Northern Ireland, for example. Who's the guy that comments? I know his name. 42, sorry, the guy from Northern Ireland. He's always talking about things like this, isn't he? And how people are trying to collectivize in their own neighborhoods to protect themselves. And there's kind of I wouldn't say an extremist element there, but there's certainly a very passionate and emotional drive to do this. And maybe you're right in terms of the class thing, because I would suggest in working class areas that is going to be more of a thing. Whereas in Richmond, for example, maybe the middle class are going to be thinking, well, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's not go full on UKIP here or something like that. They're going to be more hesitant. But I think those people will just be dragged along with whatever the winning narrative and majority is at the end of the day. There's a lot of people. By the way, when I say collapse, I don't mean every single person in the country is going to be involved in it. There's going to be lots of people who are just dragged along in whatever the tide takes them. You know, there's going to be a lot of inactive people. Someone in the chat mentioned earlier that a lot of people are just content with being atomized and kind of secluded from the rest of the country, just doing their own thing and engaging in Netflix or whatever it happens to be. You know, so maybe there's a lot of those people who are just waiting to be taken along in whatever direction that the majority go in.
But my issue with that still remains is that it's almost illegal to be a nationalist. They lock leaders up. Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen though. I mean, that's not going to matter because the institutions are falling down. There is no law and order anymore. The justice system is a joke. People don't respect it. And by the way, we're not at this point yet. But when you get to a point where none of these institutions can back up their own claims, then it's over for them.
But Dan, there are groups who are organising. There are groups who are organising political power. The left thought that they'd get all the Muslims on side, and they gave them all these Labour seats, and now they're all going independent, and they're now just Muslim seats, and they're bussing people in all the time across the channel, legal, illegal. So there is, if you're looking at balkanisation and if you're looking at some kind of civil war, there is organisation happening, and in a two-tier police. You know, that's in the law that there are protected groups, and it ain't us.
Of course not.
And so it's already from the outset, it's already unbalanced, and in a civil war situation, that puts you on the back foot to start with. Just one thing, Anglo-Saxon said that the Woodlander was on Talk TV. What do I search in YouTube to see that, Anglo? Because I've just had a look and I can't find it.
I was going to bring that up because I saw that earlier in the chat, and I did see this news story reported. I think the Times reported on it, but they reported on they phrased it like white supremacists want to start white-only community in Wales or something, and it's the Woodlander. I checked in and I thought, fucking hell, they're actually reporting on the Woodlander initiative and framing it like that. I had no idea. So yeah, you should look into this.
And likely the start of a bureaucratic aim to shut it down. I read about a place in America where they've managed to get around the laws by making it a members club. So you apply,
yes,
and no one is what's the word? Oh, come on, really obvious word. No one is
prohibited.
What is it when you? Oh, come on, it's not even tricky. We use it all the time. When you don't accept someone because you have something about
prejudice.
Them. Yeah, well, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. Hang on, let's see if the chat's got it.
I went straight to prejudice. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know what it is. But anyway, essentially, because it's a members club, they're not being racist essentially, but there's another word I was talking about. They're just that's it. Cheers, Max. You're not by law in America you can't discriminate, but a members club can discriminate because it takes people it wants based on their character.
Sausages.
And how can you it just so happens that I think it might be in Missouri, and they're homesteading. It's much like the Woodlander initiative, but a few years forward. And all the non-whites around it are going absolutely mad. And it's just like, why you say you hate us, you say you hate having us live around you, and then when people decide to move away and not interfere with your lives, suddenly that ain't on. Yeah.
Well, it's even more than that, because I think it was the Times that reported on the Woodlander, and they called them a white supremacist breakaway, whatever they called them. So if you were to take that headline and just think, okay, if that's the reality of it, let's just look at that. From their perspective, what's the problem if white supremacists decide to leave polite society and go live on their own? Why would you have an issue with that? But they do.
Yeah.
They're trying to stop it from happening. They don't. So it's not about political ideology. It's just about who they are as basically ethnic British people. Ethnic English.
Yeah,
people.
I found it by the Times, but there's also a Hope Not Hate article about it, and just in the first line, they've described Simon as a tattoo artist.
Is that supposed to be an insult, by the way?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when they always refer to Tommy Robin as Stephen Yaxley Lennon. It's like, oh, he conned everyone with his fake name.
We have lots of complicated feelings about Tommy, don't we?
Yeah, but regardless, it's just that the fact that they think it's a win to say his name's not even Tommy Robinson. It's like, oh God, oh
yeah,
no,
right.
I can't read this because I don't subscribe to it, but check this out. This is amazing. This is from the newspaper that accused me of grooming teenage Nazis, by the way, which was very nice of them. Check this out. Fascists. I mean, I've got two issues with that. One, the Woodlander, he does not have fascist political views. Fascism is a political system. That doesn't make it bad. The symbol of fascism is, if I remember rightly, it's loads of wheat tied together. The idea being, as a collective, when we work together, we're stronger. I mean...
Yeah, you could break one stick, but you can't break 20 sticks.
Exactly. Now, you can talk about what Mussolini got up to, okay, but you can also look at capitalism, which dropped 2 nuclear bombs or atomic bombs on Japanese civilians in the Second World War. But anyway, regardless, fascists. I mean, I know some of these people who've chipped in. They're not fascists, unfortunately.
The Woodlander is one of the nicest people I've ever talked to online.
Yeah, a lovely.
He's just lovely. Yeah, he's great.
Really kind, really friendly, honest. Anyway, fascists buy up land for white-only communities in Wales. A far right. I've got an issue with that. Can someone define the far right? Because I can define far left. I can. It's communism. And if you want communism defined, I can do that as well, because Karl Marx done it. He says it in the Communist Manifesto. He says words to the effect of, communism can be explained in one simple line: the abolition of private property. So I can define far left. I've just done it. No one's ever defined far right. It's just it's a mythos. It's like what do they call it? It's
just a pejorative. It's just an insult.
No, but it's like a bogeyman. It's the same tactics that parents use to get kids to go to sleep. And I think that says a hell of a lot about it. Anyway, a far right group has raised 162 FAR to create racially exclusive settlements as its leader seeks to create enclaves across Britain. Right. Right. I mean, I can't read anymore because I refuse to give them any money, but that's ridiculous. But I can't find the video. I had a look for it, but
I mean, do people have the right to association anymore? Can you? I mean, if I have my freedom, yeah, of course. If I have a house, which I do, it's surely up to me who I let inside it. That's my right. I don't have to let everyone inside if I don't want them. So, I mean, but here's the thing: it's politically charged, and again, from their perspective, the Times perspective, if this was actually a truthful headline and these people were evil, then wouldn't you want them to be in the woods somewhere away from you? But no, it is, isn't it? So, but they don't. They have to go after them. They have to stop them from doing it. Why do they want to stop them from doing it? Well, because that's a source of power if they succeed, and that can't be allowed.
Well, again, it's the start of native collectivism, and
of course,
it just can't be tolerated because at the moment that's still the super majority.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, that's the constant. I would love Kissing to talk about this issue and see what he says about it. But
right, hang on, I'm just going to have a look at it. It's on YouTube, Chris. Talk TV, White Only Community. All right, good call, Anglo. Nice to see you as well, mate. Right, hang on. Let's have a look at this. Is it gone? Okay, hang on.
Michael Pagan in the chat. If you go down to the woods today, just write the rest of the lyrics.
Okay. Oh my God. So they've also got about the one in Arkansas, and there's one. All right, let's have a look at a couple of these. Now, the weird thing is, there have been many black-only communities that the media have done nothing but celebrate. Certainly in America, you know, they've had them there saying, we've bought this plot of land and we're going to turn it into land for our people. You know, we don't want to be around. They've outright said it, and the media celebrates it.
Yep.
And as soon as a different group does it, fascists. Here we go. It's a long video, but we'll just have a look at the introduction and see what they say.
It's just about the woodlander. Specifically, yeah. Right.
Good call, Anglo. This could be interesting.
I can just imagine him sitting in his wood cabin in the forest. Maybe he's not online all day. Like he turns the internet on for 3 hours a night when he gets back from, harvesting his potatoes, and then he just sees this onslaught. He's like, "What the fuck? What's going on here? What has happened?"
People watching the channel, if you'd like to donate, I would appreciate it. It's 1:15 in the morning here. I think it's been a fascinating show with a great guest. There's many revenue streams you can use. You've been brilliant, Dan. You always are. It's a pleasure to have you on. So let's check out what Talk TV have got to say about the video is called "Plans for Britain's First White-Only Community in Wales." I'm sure there was plans for Britain's first white-only community about 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah. Maybe 1910, 1921, I don't
know. I forgot to put the audio on. Sorry, people. Here we go. Roll VT.
There is an interesting and perhaps disturbing phenomenon spreading around the world. That is white-only communities.
Sorry, Dan?
Disturbing.
Yeah. Did he actually say?
He said it called the West, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did he? I think he actually said, interestingly, perhaps disturbing, which is
okay. Well, fair enough.
Kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting that he's leaving it a bit on the fence there.
There is an interesting and perhaps disturbing phenomenon spreading around the world. That is whites-only communities. There's one in the Ozark Mountains, a very remote area of Arkansas.
That's the one Mousecat mentioned earlier. Dan, if you want me to pause it at any point, just say.
One in South Africa. There's even one in Sweden.
There's one in South Africa. Yeah. I don't need to say much more about that one. But
by the way, I know this guy's just a stooge and he's reading from a teleprompter and all that kind of thing. But when he says there's even one in Sweden, and I'm thinking, Sweden, that Scandinavian country at the arse end of the north of Europe. It's disturbing that there's white people there in their own community. Really? Are you kidding?
Isn't it weird? If 20 years ago you'd have said that, people would have said, yeah, but they're all white. But now it's shocking because Sweden? There's hardly any white people left. I mean, how can they have white communities in bloody Sweden? It's like Mogadishu out there.
Now it looks like we could be set, we in Britain.
Sorry, Dan, go on.
I was going to say, it's disturbing that every member of ABBA is white and Swedish. Terrible.
Well, the haircuts are quite disturbing as well.
Now it looks like we could be set, we in Britain could be set to get our first whites-only community. There's a guy, a British tattoo parlor owner called Simon Burkett, a scion of the...
It's so funny. I mean, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. That, like you say, Dan, he's just some mug.
Yeah.
But he's anyway. Let it play because it's better than what my commentary can be.
Far right, the extreme right. I think it's fair to say he's bought land in Wales.
Is it?
On which he plans to build Britain's first white village. It's near a place called I'll get this wrong when Llanafan. Maybe that's wrong. Llanafan Fawr, if you're saying it in English. Anyway, he's bought this land and he's going to set up a white village there, and he says he wants to buy land in every county in the country and to spread this phenomenon all over the country. Well, let's talk about this. I mean, it's I don't want to get him. Of course, we don't like this idea. We can.
This geezer hasn't got a Danny, has he?
He does not. No.
The white separatism, but I just.
Sorry, Dan.
No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's winging himself through this. He has no idea.
And it's weird because he doesn't really know what he's meant to say about it.
He doesn't know what opinion he's supposed to put forward about it. What's the message to the audience that he has to convey? He has no fucking clue.
He's absolutely confused as to what the narrative is. What's the orthodoxy on this? It's quite interesting.
I don't want to get in, of course, we don't like this idea. We condemn this sort of white separatism, but I just think it's an interesting syndrome and a clear reaction to increasing disaffection with mainstream politics by more and more people all over the world. Well, let's bring in Professor of Sociology and author Frank.
It's quite interesting, actually. It's quite interesting there that he said we don't want to get into just sort of. He says that it's a reaction to something. That is actually quite interesting because he's not wrong. He's not wrong there. That's a fair point. But
the tone of his words is that yes, it's a reaction, but it's the wrong reaction.
Yeah,
it's a misguided reaction. That's what he's saying. And by the way, he's introduced a guest. I laughed because he said we're bringing in Professor of Sociology, blah blah blah. And keep in mind, I haven't heard this guy talk. I don't know if he's going to be on our side or not. I'm assuming maybe not. But just that initial let's get in a professor to talk about the Woodlander. I just thought it's so funny to me, man. It's so hilarious.
You don't actually need to read a book to get a doctorate in sociology. It's just it's such a no subject. I had to do some what did they call them back in the day? Our university used to have to get extra credits by doing electives. That's it, electives. And I'd done a couple of sociology electives. And I'm not joking, this was at master's degree level, yeah? So you've already done 3 years at bachelor's. and I'm on my second year of my master's. I'm in this sociology lecture, and it's things as simple as people without money tend not to enjoy life as much as people who've got money and can pay their bills. Here's a chart, and you're like, what? What is this? I'll be interested to see what this ridiculous bloke says. Hello, Mr. Gold, nice to see you. He says there are many functionally white-only areas in England, upper-class neighbourhoods which price out 90% of the population. Great call, exactly.
Yeah. And they have gates and walls apparently as well.
Yes, and private security as well. And we don't see them getting called out and called far right. They're just called far better off than most of us.
For AD. Frank, before we talk, let me...
No, I alphabet cat. My master's degree, I majored in French post-structuralism, which is why I could do electives in sociology. My bachelor's was in art. And yeah, you study sociology on an art degree. Of course you do. Because what else can they teach you? How to paint? They don't do that. And I wasn't painting anyway. Anyway, let's carry on and see this weird. Look at this professor. He can't even sort out a decent camera, for fuck's sake. Sociology professor, so he ain't got a penny. He ain't got a job.
It's the lighting that's the problem. He's got a light behind him. He should have a light.
Classic mistake.
Never mind.
That only ever worked in 80s glamour photography.
Never
just
mind.
play a little footage. Sky News went to the Arkansas Ozark Mountain community that I was talking about, and here's a little taster of what they filmed there.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community.
I notice he said that as an intro. I'm not saying they don't say that, but I notice he said that.
It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people.
This is the one I think I was talking about, where they've got round it by making it a members club. Maybe I got it wrong.
Only. They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
It's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out, even if...
you don't let everyone into your home.
Around 40 people live.
That's what I just said.
Exactly. I think we need
That's exactly the point I made. What's the problem with that? What is the issue with that?
Go on, Dan. Roll with it.
It's not like they're rolling into someone else's neighborhood and kicking everybody out and saying, no, this is just for us now. They've got their own plot of land. They're building their own infrastructure, and they're saying, these are the rules. These are the people that we want to live around. What is the problem with that? There isn't one. Any other group could do this, and it wouldn't even be picked up upon by the media. But these people, of course, it's evil. You've got to shut it down immediately. That's the worldview we're in now.
I've just found that clip that I was telling you about. It's only about 2 minutes. This is from Mark Dice, and he actually shows you when other communities have done this, the media have celebrated it, and it's just, dare I say, it's just black and white. Why is one celebrated and the other called fascist, far right, a harking back to separatism? I mean, anyway, I'll just roll VT. Sorry,
before you do, it reminds me of a couple of years ago with the Black Lives Matter stuff, when all these people were saying, come out and only support black-owned businesses, right? So they're encouraging an economic movement to put their purchasing power towards one small group of people, excluding everybody else. Yeah. So what's the same thing?
Yeah. Right, let's listen to Mark Dice. Lord knows how Mark Dice's channel still exists, but he's managing to pull it off. Roll VT.
strife. Living in a multicultural community always entails strife. That is always a one-way street. We all know how that goes. A group of several dozen white people in Arkansas have decided to establish a white-only little community on private property on approximately 150 acres. But instead of being happy for them that they found peace and community and neighbors that they share common interests and cultures with, many, particularly on TikTok and in the liberal media, are very upset with them.
It's incredible that it's only 40 people and it made the mainstream news. It's like 40 white people were living together. What the fuck?
Doesn't that say? Sorry, Chris. Doesn't that say a lot though? It's only 40 people. What are they so scared of?
Yeah.
What's the threat there? And I think people that's what you need to take from this. Why are they so scared of this?
Yeah, of 40 people. But this is good because you get to the bit where the people who aren't allowed don't like it, and you get to the media support of when other communities are doing it.
By the way, play the video. I need another slash. Just go for it.
Okay.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only.
And it is very much like the Woodlander Initiative and predictable as hell, John. and Ludwig hits a nail on the head as well. Hello, Al. Good to see you. Yep, good point. Hello, Linda, darling. I hope you're well. Thanks for those donations that come through. I won't miss them. I'll collect up with them later. Sufis. Anyway, let's see. I want you to see the media support when other people do it.
They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is
you don't have to dislike anyone to really like your own. It's the same as what Dan said. You know, do you protect your family or do you protect a family up the road if there's a street fire? You protect your family first. Now, that doesn't mean you're discriminating against the family up the road. It's just you have priorities and you are allowed to choose. You're allowed to make those kinds of decisions based on things you've seen, witnessed, experienced, and patterns you've seen. That's just fair enough.
establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, you know, our culture.
Well, and protecting your community from you know who.
A few years ago, I couldn't breathe, but then I started taking this, Comply. Now I breathe just fine. Side effects of Comply may include dizziness, obedience, improved breathing during police encounters, and sudden respect for authority. Do not resist while taking Comply. Ask your officer if Comply is right for you.
This is a white culture, a whites only place.
This guy's real quick. Ordinarily, such an endeavor would be illegal under the ridiculous laws that have been put in place in the once land of the free in the United States, which is supposed to enable people to have the right to assemble. That's part of the First Amendment, a right to assemble on public property and on private property with who you want, and to not allow who you don't want. But these guys are smart. They're operating it as a private members association, which...
All right, so this is the clever bit. This is the clever bit.
Has totally different. These guys are smart. They're operating it as a private members association, which has totally different rules than a public business or a landlord who owns some apartment complexes.
But look at the headline. I can't highlight it, but look at the subheading. Sorry, a white supremacist group. Where is your evidence for that? What, just because they're white, they must be white supremacists? I've always got this problem with this idea of white supremacy, because if you believe white supremacy exists, then aren't you at the same time admitting to white supremacy? Do you see my point?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but what they say is, right, these people do not want to go to other races and subjugate them. That's not what they want to do. That's not their goal. So they just call on this to just discredit them and say, look, these people are the KKK. That's it. That's all they are.
The author of this piece is Jahan Jones, and in his second, he's already mentioned white supremacy once. In his second paragraph, listen to this: Republican Attorney General Tim Griffin has pursued bigoted initiatives in his own right, as evidenced by his participation in the right-wing crusade against diversity and school lesson plans that discuss racial injustice. What the fuck? Anyway, the bit I really want you all to see is the media supporting it when the shoe's on the other foot.
It's about who they can and cannot rent those apartments to. But the Arkansas Attorney General has launched an investigation into them anyway, and undoubtedly will try to sue them into bankruptcy for exercising what should be their First Amendment right, the freedom of association on private property. But when
and let's remember, America isn't a democracy. America is a constitutional republic, and in the Constitution, you have a right to free association. And if they do manage to sue them, well, you might as well tear up the Constitution. Well, you might as well anyway, because the things that have happened in the last 10, 20 years they've gone well off piece, let's say that.
Well,
freedom of association.
Sorry, Chris. The Constitution in America. The Constitution in America is not going to mean anything when the demographics flip. There's not going to be any. No one's going to care about it then.
I think they'll rewrite it.
Well, yeah, of course they will, to their own ends, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've read the Constitution, and there is nothing in there that there's nothing in there that would make you feel the need to rewrite it. You'd only rewrite it if you wanted, like you say, if you needed to have at least a two-tier system.
What should be their First Amendment right, the freedom of association on private property. But when a group of black families bought several acres of land in Georgia to create a blacks-only community as a safe haven for their culture and an escape from white people, then of course CNN and other news outlets praised them for their amazing endeavor.
You hear that? That is the sound of freedom.
Feels really amazing.
Why were these two women interested in the prospect of buying a town in the first place?
We needed to create a space and a place where we could be a village again.
Pause it. Sorry.
Pause it. So, Renee,
go on, Dan.
What the fuck is this? What?
Yeah, well, this is CNN celebrating black exclusive collectivism.
No, I understand that, but she's wearing a mask under her nose and halfway over her top lip.
Yeah, you can barely hear what she says, but she does. You will hear her say a tribe again.
Buying a town in the first place.
We needed to create a space and a place where we could be a village.
Sorry, I will play it again, but it's a little bit like Kenny Everett's no beard thing he had. For people my age, Kenny Everett was a very funny comedian in the 80s, but he had a beard. So occasionally when he wanted to play a character without a beard, he'd have like a fake no beard, but it was deliberately rubbish and didn't do the job. And it's like she's got one of them on. It's like
I don't want to live. I don't want to live in a place where this person is in charge of anything.
No, I mean, come on. You say, does she understand that air and any potential contagious diseases they do go in and out of the nose as well as the mouth,
and through fabric as well. Amazing.
Again, a tribe again.
So Renee and Ashley reached out to family and friends, and together they bought what they intend to name Freedom, Georgia, a new black city.
Yay.
The owners hosted the big black campout over Labor Day weekend. Supporters drove in from across.
I haven't got a problem with this at all. I have not got a fair play to you. Crack on. Go for it.
The country.
That is our.
But can we just have it both ways, perhaps?
Vision, and to be able to pass this land down to my children and to the children that are represented by each of our 19 families.
They all dislike that bird that missed the melanin in the in the breeding cycle, and you know it.
Families as a piece of legacy. We're hoping to create legacy.
Yeah, well, that's been about 5 years, but I don't think they've done anything other than turn that land into basically a campground.
A whites-only community in Arkansas. This.
By the way, before we get on to a couple of these TikTok reactions, what he said there is true. I looked into it. That was 5 years ago. Packer, are you off? See you later, Packer. Are you off?
No, I'm still sat here.
I don't know why it says bye, y'all. Are you talking to someone in particular?
Well, I'm talking to I'm talking to the people who want to go and live in their own community.
Sorry,
All
mate.
right.
Hello, Charlie. Yeah, that was 5 years ago. It's just a campsite. They haven't done anything. I mean, the Woodland has done more in a couple of years. It's ridiculous. But let's have a look at some of these angry TikTokers.
A campground.
A whites-only community in Arkansas. This is where we're at in America today. What the do you mean you don't want to be around people that look like me?
Do you really want the answer to that, pal? Do you really want the answer?
Positive vibes, good food, beautiful people. Like, what the do you mean you guys want to live in a whites-only community?
Well, maybe you should.
Yeah, but why does it bother you? If they don't want to be around you, then you probably wouldn't want to be around them.
Ask black people why so many of them feel that they need to live in a black-only dorm when they go to college. And maybe ask them why so many need to attend an HBCU, a historically black college or university, of which there are 107 in the United States, as identified by the U.S. Department of Education, which...
I think he goes on to explain this, but just in case he doesn't and you don't know, there are 107 universities in America where when you graduate, like I've graduated from 4 universities, right? Everyone graduates on the same day. You all dress up in your silly gowns and your hat gets bigger with as your, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, all that goes up. But this 107 universities said, no, we want the black people to have their own graduation. We don't want to be around white people celebrating our graduation. And the universities went, yeah, all right.
Are those schools which used to be black only before the forced integration, before segregation laws were broken? And so now, I guess.
So before when segregation was in place, that blacks have fought against and always bring up as one of the worst times in American history, they want it back. Although they use it in so many arguments, they want it back.
Some white people, for some odd reason, actually attend these schools, but HBCUs are basically black-only colleges. And maybe ask them why so many of them feel they need to have a black-only graduation ceremony.
Right, I just want to tell you again, because I've seen this, when I've graduated a few times, that there's your head lecturer, the professor, is up there and he's got many gowns and a massive hat, looks like Shakespeare. And they'll read out your names, and everyone knows you, or a lot of people know you, and there's the more popular kids, obviously, and all that. And when the name's read out, people will go yay and clap, and you go up on stage, you do a little bow, you go up to the bloke, he gives you your scroll, and you shake his hand, and then you walk off stage, and then the next person does it, and it's a very nice ceremony. Okay, check it.
At the colleges that have diversity, which then often look like this. A total circus, throwing up the black power fist as Jamal gets his bachelor's degree in African studies.
Aramis Anderson said the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Receiving a Bachelor of Arts in Disciplinary Studies field, Political Economy, Legal Studies, and African American Studies. He said, disbursement and allocation, reparations for African Americans, and opportunity.
Oh my God. Imagine being so out of touch with things that you don't understand.
I don't think we need to watch.
No,
much more of that.
that's enough.
I'm going to just go through these super chats because it's getting very late here, people, and I'm flagging a little bit. Give me a
Yeah, I'm
second.
gonna see my parents in about 20 minutes, so we'll just round it
Don't
off.
show off because you've still got parents. I'm an orphan, Daniel.
Well, I'm 20 years younger than you, my friend.
There is that, yeah.
Did you forget?
And my parent. Well, we won't go into that. Right, stop that there. Right, where are we? What ones have I got in lately? I'm going to just move this over here to the bigger screen because it's fucked it all up. MCJ Dub Power, who's already donated, drops another $5 in and says grifting doesn't work. Marciano Capricciatata Tutu. Ludwig drops an air and in, and he says Greg Wallace didn't kill himself. Hoitza. Mr. Gold drops a Lady Godiva in. He says the whitest place that I've been is an expensive village named Corn in Leicestershire. I've never been there. I've never even heard of it. I thought corn was that fungus fake chicken, but it's just like compressed mushrooms.
Yeah, is that real? Because there's fake sausages called corn sausages.
Yeah, it's made out of the same material. The actual material is called corn. Anyway, we're going a bit off piece to Mr. Gold's comment, but nice one. And Brad James drops a lady in as Patrick Swayze sang, "Chris is like the wind." Thank you very much. I'll just give Entropy a quick update. It looks like nothing over on Entropy, not a problem. And over there, sometimes Buy Me a Coffee can be a bit late, but you'll get your video replies. No, we're all good there too. Right, Daniel.
Yes.
Oh, hang on, where the hell are we? I've only been doing this 10 years. I don't know how to work it. Listen, if you're over here and you're not subscribed, do subscribe. I'm putting out loads more standard videos than I used to. I've actually got 60 new subscribers in the last month, which is more than I've got in the last 5 years because YouTube don't help me. So I do appreciate your help, people. It's really appreciated. Can you like this video? Because if you like it, YouTube might, on the off chance, promote it, or they'll get rid of my channel for my awfully racist video. I might actually just leave it up for a day and take it down. Actually, we went a bit close to the edge a couple of times. Did I miss any more there? No.
I don't think you need to be worried, but I don't think you need to be worried. There's a lot of.
Oh, hang on. Lady Glass of has been dropped. Said, been lurking. Great chat. Thanks for coming on again, Dan. You're right, Emma. Hang on, Dan. I talked to Emma first. You obviously don't know the rules around here. You all right, love? Yeah, everything all right over there? I'll send you an email later. Go on, Dan. You can say what you want now.
Well, how can she resist that? That is.
Oh, you'll be surprised, mate.
Poetry in voice. That
you'll be surprised. Thank you, Emma. Much appreciated, as always. Daniel, what did you make of that stream?
The one we've just done. The one that we're doing right now. Yes. Yeah, it was very good. Yeah. The one that is still continuing. Yeah, it's been good. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to say it was shite. I think it was good. Very good.
The mistake I made is it's a question I always ask Packer at the end of a stream. And so he's used to it. And so that to me was quite weird. You going, what stream? The one we're still doing? The one that is
Yeah, I would say that you just said that you might delete this. Don't delete the stream. If you feel worried about it, just make it private at least, okay? Because what we've talked about today is we were talking about Connor Tomlinson and all that crowd. What we've said today isn't any much more than that. What they're talking about now on a regular basis, even fucking trigonometry. And their adjacent competitors, Andrew Gold from Heritage.
Yeah, but they don't make sly little jokes that we make.
It doesn't matter.
They're not comedians.
It's not a crime. Look, Constantine and sausages, they're their own thing. It's fine.
That was my highlight of the stream, actually. his sausage saying pet.
If everyone could just call Francis Foster sausages from now on, then maybe we could maybe do something.
Don't give him the attention. Just ask him to do the paperwork. You can imagine him women kissing while he's doing their tax returns, while Kissing's watching himself on telly.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, Chris, like this stream isn't controversial at all. Don't worry about it. You'll be all right. Just leave it up.
All right. If I lose my channel, can you reimburse me because my business is going down the pan?
No.
Okay.
I will not do
Dan,
that.
listen, my friend, we regularly talk off stream, so to speak, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Brad said, do you think I post too often on Substack? Yes, I think you do, Brad. I think it's off-putting. Not just you, but when anyone does it. People would just like, it's too much. You know, if you're subscribed to 10 Substacks, and even if they're only posting twice a week, you're getting 20 emails of things you don't really want to read. I would do less. Write the same amount of stuff, but then post a link saying I've written 4 short stories or 4 articles, but put that in one email. That would be my advice. If that was a real question. But yeah, Brad's got a Substack, people. It's some good stuff on there as well. But yeah, you do. You just get deleted when your ones come through. I have a look at yours when I go to Substack. Nice one for the donation. I hope that advice was somewhat helpful. All right, Dan, I'll take your advice. Look after yourself. Always a pleasure when you come on. Always get the numbers in. We've had over 200 for the whole stream. I never get those numbers these days, but I do get hardcore about 120, and I love every one of you. Bless you all. So thank you, Dan.
No, well, I'm kind of disappointed. I've only bumped it up by 80. That's a shame.
No.
It's over.
No,
it's over.
We've had you've bumped it up by about 100. So that's, that's very
Still
good.
Rookie numbers. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Oh, the good old days, eh? that was horrible what they done.
If I buy a Twitter verification, sorry, an X verification, because I tried it for a month, maybe a year ago, and it does impact your posts a lot. It does send them quite far. Maybe I'll do that.
The best thing to do is pay to boost your tweets. I mean, I can't afford it, but I've got mates.
That's what I just said. Yeah, X Premium.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But you don't need you can just boost your posts. I mean, I've got the verification badge, but you can just boost your posts with that.
Well, maybe
YouTubers do it as well. I've got a mate, and he's built up a 4.5 million subscriber lockpicking channel. It's taken me 4 years to get 16,000. He said, you've got to boost them. I said, how much is it each one? He said, I spend about £500 on each video. And I'm like, fucking hell.
I mean, surely he's making that back and
well,
more.
Yeah, well, this is it. He's made 250 videos, all shorts, and he's got 4.5 million subs. But I haven't got that. I haven't got that initial investment. Do you know what I mean? And he's got a team of editors. He's got a team of researchers. It's like a job. He like, me and you got into this organically. Oh, I can go on YouTube. I can get a camera. I've been using the same camera for 12 years. There was mold growing on my old microphone. That's not even a joke. Some people saw it. They're like, what's all that green on your mic? I'm like, yeah, that's actual mildew. But what people do, in the last few years is they sit down with a load of investors and they say, right, we're going to make a YouTube channel about this. We need 250 grand. That'll be your investment. And we're they have a business plan. And they say, we've worked out that for every 20 million views on a short, you get X amount. We'll give you 10% of that back. You can have a 20% stake in the business. Once you get your money back, that will go down to a 10% stake. Everyone agrees. They've got like 3 editors, 2 researchers, 2 cameramen, a studio. And it's a project rather than just a bloke in a room, which I've always been. I haven't got the time or the money to do that. And that's why my lockpicking.
That's so funny that because you're in the lockpicking world as well as this world, and it's just funny to say that in the lockpicking world you've got people who've got the full studio setup, and then in our world, back when we were doing the streams 5-6 years ago, It was just us, laptops and a microphone, and now you've got the Lotus scenes with the fucking studio and
Yeah,
multicam sound.
yeah.
You know, it really is like a parallel. It's funny. Yeah, that's just the way.
Yeah, and certainly you more than me, but I think the Three Stooges was also, you know, we deserve to pat ourselves on the back. We were taking big risks. People were losing bank accounts, but you had your life turned upside down for a few weeks. My mum rang me up and said, "What's this? Everyone's calling me saying that you're a Nazi in the Times," you know, and I think we played our part in moving the open window, or at least getting it going a little bit.
Sure thing.
You know,
we should get Hugh back on at some point. I know he's came to himself.
I spoke to him the other day, right? And so the message is like about 20 or 30 messages to and fro. And I said, "Oh, I'm streaming actually with Dan in a couple of weeks." I said, "You know, you're always welcome." And he got back his first message back. He went, and there it is, the ever present. "Can you come on a stream with me?" He went, "No, I can't." But do you remember when he did? Do you remember when he done it? He double bluffed us, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He said,
and I knew he would.
Went,
I knew he would. If you talk about, because I know he's probably listening at least to a little bit. And
Hugh,
if you talk,
you're listening.
If you talk about him, especially if you tell stories about him and complimentary about him, then he might jump on.
Well, the thing is, you know, the people who want him most, it's all the women. All the birds are absolutely all over him. It's women who they email me. I mean, there are plenty of people in the chat say, "Get Hugh back on, do another Three Stooges or whatever." But it's the emails. Can you ask Hugh if he'll come on and do a stream? I really miss his voice. Fucking hell, all right.
I can imagine Hugh being a general or an admiral in the British Navy in the Napoleonic Wars. He's got that kind of personality about him. Yes, we're going to go murder the French today. It's going to be glorious. That kind of bombastic nature about him. That's what women love.
Putting a pin in a map of Europe. Oh, that'll do. Who's ever heard of fucking Luxembourg?
I like it.
Anyway?
I'll take it, yes.
42 says, "Chris, Dan, you are sappers in the culture war." Now, knowing 42, that's a compliment, but I don't have
what does sappers mean?
I don't have a historical reference for it.
All right.
But 42 is based as fuck and a very interesting bloke. We don't go there. We don't go. I'll talk to you about him offline.
Okay.
Nice one, 42. Machano Capriciata Tutu. All right, Dan. Oh, hang on. Did I miss that one? No. I'll just check over here. If you have posted on Buy Me a Coffee, it can be a bit late, but you will get your video reply. All right, Dan, I'll let you go, mate. Thanks for coming on. We'll do another one in a few months. Just you know where I am. Let me know.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Christmas time, hit me up. It'll be good.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll do something near Christmas. People in the chat, give Dan some love. He's a busy boy, and it's always a pleasure. Take care, Dan.
All right, ciao.
Cheers, Dan.
Bye-bye.
There you go, Packer. I mean, that's a new record, I think, for you not talking. I think you said hello.
Absolutely no need, is there? No need to say anything, is there? Like, just let you in and get on with it.
I was terrified. I was terrified when I couldn't see you in the digital green room. I couldn't see you in the chat, and then I see your missus in the chat said something like, "It's all right, we're just picking up our takeaway," or something like that.
Yeah, we were stood outside the kebab shop, literally standing outside the kebab shop, and she went, "Oh, Chris is on."
Well, and I thought, oh fuck, and I actually thought, how far? Because I didn't know it was a kebab shop. I thought, how far away is that from where they live? Are they driving? Is it public transport? Oh, I can't do this on my own. And thankfully, bosh, there you were. What do you make of the stream? People, can you like the stream? That's really important, because if you don't, YouTube think it's crap. And as Dan said, it is quite important stuff we've been talking about.
It was brilliant. It was, it's always good value, isn't it? Yeah. Listen to YouTube and natter away. I could have sat here for another, as long as you two want to natter, I'd have sat here all night.
Is there anything to promote tonight that I don't know about?
Yes, tonight. Where are we? Friday. Yeah, tonight. I'm on RPW Media.
which is Jimmy from Philly's brother.
Yeah, I am joining 42 because he's dragging me along for shits and giggles or something. And I believe it might be Sensum Communum as well. Someone
who is absolutely great, really nice bloke, knows his stuff. I like Sensum a lot. So you've got, so you've got 42 and Sensum who really know their stuff. And
yeah, again, I'm just going to sit there and say now, I'll be there for, I don't know.
Bless you, Packer. Listen, mate, thank you. It's my pleasure and privilege every time when you come on, and I'll let you go now. There's not going to be a debriefing because I'm fucked, man.
All right, mate. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, look after yourself. People, cheers, show Packer some love in the chat, can you? Cheers, mate. Have a good weekend. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
When I say to him there won't be a debriefing, usually when the stream ends, because Packer's still down there now, well, he won't be because I'll kick him out like this. Bosh. But when I end the stream, I bring him back on and we just have a little chat, see how we thought the stream went and any funny things we want to giggle about. But you can hear it in my voice. And I've now got to do some writing. It's 2:00 in the morning. If I don't stick to my schedule, the book don't get written. In the last 8 weeks, I've written a 90,000 word novel. It will be available in November on Amazon. But if you subscribe to my channel or my Substack, there's 36 short stories that I've written on my Substack. It's a top link in the description. It's totally free. Go over there, give some of my stories a read. It's found that I'm into like the 20,000 people have read my stories. It's been really successful, so I'm a pretty good writer, and it's totally free, so I'd appreciate that, and keep an eye out for the book in November. And if you enjoyed this stream, I stream 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes we just talk about any old thing, sometimes I'll get a guest on, but it's been a real pleasure to have so many people. And now I'm going to play a bit of music that the regulars will absolutely adore. And the rest of you are going to think, what the fuck is this? But thank you very much. It means a lot to me that you've come along and paid attention. And you know what? I want to thank everyone who's donated. I want to thank Dan. I want to thank Packer. But most of all, I want to thank you for coming, the people who come regularly, the people who give it a go tonight, and for the chat, because the chat's excellent. Without the chat, a stream is just me and someone else talking. But the chat was busy and I love it. I love this stream. Bless you all. Have a good weekend. Don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them, because it's important and we do tend to forget. Here's a bit of music. It's actually about 3 minutes long and it only takes about 2 minutes to make a donation. So feel free. Ta-da!
All the world loves a lover. All the girls in every land are meant to know. The joy of loving is to live in the world of man. There's someone who's waiting for you. Soon the world will be yours for a toy. Music starts to play, night will turn to day. Darkness disappears when the one you love is near. You're in man. All the world loves the lover, all the girls.
I did notice there was no JP. Nice one, guys. Appreciate
Joy
it.
of loving is to live in the world of mankind. There's a place that is waiting for you, a world where the best in life is free, where time is always spring, happiness is king. The dreams you dream come true when the one you love loves you. You're in man.
Packer is on RPW Media. You can search it on YouTube, RPW Media. Okay. Thank you, Packer, for that lady Ivor.
All the world loves a lover. All the girls in every land, a man to know. Joy of loving is to live in the world of man.
Blame the racist, umbrella man. Yeah, it was weird having no John Palmer. Thank you, Packer and Zeitgeist, for those donations. Yeah, I'm going to cover that on my next stream. Kate Smurthwaite had no one go to her Edinburgh show, and she's blaming Oasis, you know, the Gallagher brothers band. Now, I was a comedian for 10 years in the UK. I've got plenty of comedian friends, and they're selling out their shows daily. It might be because she's fucking awful. Her show is called Suffragette, and she dresses up as a bloke very convincingly, actually. Listen, have a cracking weekend. Amazing. Where are we? Ta-ta. Hoita.